god. You are live. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yay.
Good day, good evening. Also, I can't see I can't see in StreamYard like how many people are in viewing the stream. Live viewers. Okay, there we go. Now some people are. Okay, here we go. Here we can view them.
So let me grab my phone so I can actually see comments.
Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah, now some people are dropping in. Can people hear us? We do a sound test. Good morning, King Edward the Turbulent. Hello, King Edward. CB. Good morning. Hello. It's a bit too late for morning. I don't know where you are in the world, but I guess it's morning somewhere. Somewhere in the world.
There I am. Wow, look at that weirdo walking into the screen. Okay, cool.
Okay, and then we got Piotr. Hello. Cal said, "All right, you're gonna have to explain the context behind the thumbnail." I mean, which part of it? Which part of it? I mean, there's so much. Which part do I need to explain? Like, there's so much going on in that thumbnail. I hope you like the Cal. I hope you like the animated bit about it. I thought that was like pretty cool to do like an animated thumbnail, and I wish I could do it for my more videos, but it does take some effort. Frogman says you started early. We haven't really started it yet. We're kind of doing like pre-stream. We're gonna like start with the main stuff at 11 sharp. The domestic terrorism. There was no domestic terrorism. Now you're just imagining stuff. False accusations.
Yeah, I'll take that one. I will take that one. I'll go with that one.
Yeah, it took me the entire day busting him out of prison. He's fresh out of jail. They're currently looking for him. Spamman said, "Woo! I finally caught a stream live." Yeah, nice to meet you. Hopefully, if you got any questions, Spamman, you can just drop them, and we're gonna do a sort of like a segment first, where we're going to not really take any questions, but I'm gonna scroll back in the chat later to like look at questions, so you can drop them whatever. Yeah, I hope there's no one in the chat who hates kids. Really bad. You're also one of those hanging cages.
Say hi. Just say hi. Get out of your system. Go hi.
Hello, kiddo. Yeah, it's an Nara, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Hi, guys. Hi.
Yeah, I remember she's a little diver.
And there's Kellyanne.
Yeah, hey, boy.
Ahoy, matey. All right, go watch TV. Go watch TV.
Yeah, my dad never sent me for the TV when he like wanted me dealt with. He just pulled out the belt, The dad of my dad. All right, well it's 11 sharp, 17 p.m. where I am. So, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good morning, good forenoon, wherever you are in the world. So today we're gonna have an interview of sorts, also a discussion here with Crewe of the Fancy, as it's called, and the more veteran viewers of you who have been on the channel, you might remember the Crewe of the Fancy, or Danny from last year. I did a live stream with him. He's been running his own YouTube channel, the Crewe of the Fancy, where he makes videos on pirates and Pennsylvanian history, because he's from Pennsylvania, so that makes a lot of sense. And he's also working has worked as a tailor, making costumes for pirate reenactment.
I'm getting back to that.
He's getting back to that. We got some very juicy new information about that. But of course, as some of you might know, Danny was arrested back in January on various charges, which has caused a bit of controversy in the pirate historical community. Some people have denounced him even, and a bunch of stuff. And of course now he's out of prison. So this stream is sort of we want to hear Danny's side of the story. What does he have to say, and is there something he can come and clear out? So, Danny, to start out from the beginning, what happened? What happened?
Okay, so one thing that for some reason my county does not recognize, they don't understand that sometimes the victim of a crime can have a mental illness and that causes them to maybe not tell the truth. Keep in mind, everything I'm going to say is on the official record. Like, it's out in the open now. It's not like, this is not like, oh my gosh, why is he saying that? So, my wife has real bad post-traumatic stress disorder from her childhood. So, long story short, people, do not abuse your children, because then they can turn into adults that have no clue what they're doing in the world and it can end up in a bad place. She had a real bad episode, just stress from work, everything started building up. And of all the things she could have flashed back to, she flashed back to an incident in 2013 where our roommate decided to attack us with a sword. Guy, like, full on, just took sword, pushed it through the door, came after us. There's been a few times in videos where I kind of hinted that I'd been in actual fights before. Yeah, that was my actual fight. It lasted, I don't even know how long, but in the end, like, one thing I always tell people, hand-to-hand combat, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get bloody. And trust me, I was not too pretty that day. So she ends up telling the cops basically that whole incident, except it's me doing it. Next thing you know, whoop, whoop, I'm getting arrested. Our county has a lot of issues. It's those of you from Europe, you probably look at American cops and you're like, you got stories about them. Yeah, our county's one of those places where these stories come from. Our jail is usually in the top 10 worst prisons in the United States. So we're the sort of place that if you have way too much of a tan, you don't want to get pulled over. Like, seriously, it's so I get to the prison, I'm like trying to get in touch with people. Of course, I'm a modern person. I have all my stuff on my cell phone. I don't have a cell phone, so I can't get in touch with anybody. I'm like, is there like a phone book or something I can look up? Like, no, you just use whatever number you can find. Okay, cool. One phone number. Awesome. My buddy didn't pick up. They're like, okay, you're going in. I'm like, into the prison? Okay, cool. So I'm not a criminal. Like, I play a criminal, but I'm not a criminal. Going to prison's not ever been something on my list of things to do. So that was like coming in there. I'm like, these aren't people that I hang with. These aren't my friends. I don't know anybody. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm like, I know people say always find the biggest guy and like start a fight with him. No, don't do that. Do not do that. And so I'm there, and I mean, I'll admit, probably the first week, I was just in this zone of, is there an easy way out of this? If you catch my drift, like, was not in a good mental place. And all of a sudden, these people started talking to me. I'm like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? You cannot lie in prison. Like, that's something. If you're in on bad charges, and when I say bad charges, I mean, well, so I can swear on the channel. If you're a chomo, people who touch children, yeah, that's bad charges. You can't lie about that. If you lie about that, somebody's going to make the right call. They're going to find out, hey, look up this guy. Who is this? Oh. And they'll find out that not only were you lying, but you have bad charges. So immediately I'm like, here's my paperwork. I didn't do anything. Please acknowledge. And they're like, they actually believed you attacked her with a sword? Yeah. They never interviewed you. No. What the hell? And that's like literally most of my prison career was spent with criminals telling me I'm not a criminal. It's like, wow, this is. One thing that I found out, and this is a lot of times like doing pirate videos and stuff, it's like pirates are villains, they're bad people. I don't think so anymore. It's okay to be a criminal, and it's a thing to be a criminal and be a good person. I met a lot of people that I would actually be friends with. I honestly, coming out and finding that a lot of reenactors, without me being convicted, without knowing anything, had just turned their back on me or flat out stole my things. I realized I trust criminals to a certain extent more than normal people. And that was the big thing. I had to take a plea to get out. Our Child Protective Services here, pretty much the moment I got in, I tried to get in touch with them. They got back to me. They listened to me. They interviewed me. They went over the whole case, and they cleared me. Problem was, our state didn't listen to them. Our state just wanted to make money. Yeah, I'm a scary person.
Yeah, I'm absolutely terrified of you right now behind the camera.
But that was the weird thing. Like, anytime you hear stuff on the news, like, it's like, wow, that person, they're in prison, they did something wrong, obviously. No. Especially in my county. My county doesn't bother investigating. If they can save money, they save money. And in this case, it's like, we don't need to commit resources to look up this guy. It's like, I didn't have any charges before. Like, why would I suddenly, after 36 years, be like, I'm going to attack somebody with a sword? And the worst part with some of the reenactment beauty was some of these were people that knew about my wife's mental health history. They knew sometimes if she'd have a flashback or something, it could be something like that. And I'm going to flat out, I strongly believe some of them did it on purpose. They knew, like, they're like, wow, we have this chance to get free stuff. Let's do it. Let's egg her on. And it was so, like, and the thing is, like, when I got sent the screenshots, because I'd post them on my channel, the moment they found out I had the screenshots, they like started removing everybody from the chat. It's like, guys, I already have the receipts. I know what you guys did. I know there was premeditation in it. I mean, lucky for them, my county, because I'm a criminal, they don't take it seriously. You can rob from criminals apparently in my county. It's okay. If I was in any other place, no, they'd be getting a knock at their door right now. But now, so one thing I learned in prison, like, the other thing, like, don't lie, but the other thing is, if somebody steals from you, if somebody is being mean to you, you can't let them do that in prison. And it's one part of the prison mentality I am perfectly fine keeping in the world. Like, when I found out, like, these people were bad mouthing me, stealing from, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. We don't play this way anymore. Old Crewe the Fancy, I'll just let it slide off my back. I'll be fine. New Crewe the Fancy, hey, what's this about? Let's have a conversation. You want to talk? Oh, wait, you're in Florida. Man, I can't drive down there, but we can have a talk this way. If you want to come visit, we can visit. And I think it surprised them in many regards, because it's like, wow, he used to be nice. What's wrong with him now? He's mean. He's willing to be mean. But right now, my wife and I are working on getting the charges dropped, which, yeah, you'd think it'd be easier as her going, hey, I had therapy. None of this actually happened. No, they don't listen to that. So we're working on pretty much going person by person that was involved in the case and just basically wrecking their careers. That's literally what it's down to. Just last would have been 2 nights ago, our district attorney decided to have a flip out on a live stream on Facebook. He went after a guy that has real bad Tourette's. Apparently, this guy had gotten pulled over, routine traffic stop, and he's like, "Officers, just before we begin this conversation, I have Tourette's. So like, if my hands start jerking around, I'm not threatening you. It's just my tick." Now, of course, they didn't listen. They arrested him, threw him in DCP for a month. He lost his job at a school, all that, and this guy he went to the round table talk for the prison and told his story, and the DA actually came over and started getting in his face, like full on ready to fight this guy on a live stream on Facebook. This is supposed to be this really respectable attorney, and no, he was completely insane. And this is the sort of person that's making decisions over people's lives. So there's a movement right now to get him impeached and there's questions now like, is he able to do his job? Which, I mean, frankly, no, I don't think he is. I think he is. He likes going after people that have mental illnesses. The truth of it is, I think he is completely. I think he's beyond crazy. We'll put it that way. And just in case anybody's curious, one point I'm bringing cups back to our block. I ended up becoming the head night shift cook, and I'm bringing cups back to our block. And I got stopped by 2 of the guards. One of them takes one of the cups. He hands me back the other one. He's like, and we got into a sword fight with a stack of cups. And one of the last things I said before I left. Now, so in prison, I guess a lot of folks don't realize, like, some of the guards are cool. You can work with them. If you're doing crimes in prison, they might even help you. Put it that way. So these were 2 of the really cool guards, and when they found out I did the Crewe, the fancy stuff and everything else, they just every day they would just annoy me with "Arr!" At one point, we actually did a Jack Sparrow run down the block. All the inmates were like, "What the heck's going on?" It's like, I don't know. This is just happening. But, I mean, as bad as it was, I'm kind of glad I did do the time because I learned a lot. Now, like, when I talk about crimes, I talk about criminals, I get that it's not just, there are these people. No, it's like, these are my homies, man. But that's like, you can't replace, like, it's stuff you can't really get just reading the books. And yeah, things have changed a lot. Actually, no, things have not changed in our prisons, and that's actually one of the worst parts in Pennsylvania. We don't have we haven't had a lot of the improvements that other states, other countries have. I'd compare our prison to a press yard. It's designed to get you to plead. It's as bad as it can possibly be. Just you're given just enough to be alive. If you're somebody that's got a career, you got a life, the only way that you're actually going to be able to get back to that is if you plead. And that's the worst part. Like, there's no way around it. And a lot of times people are like, no, we don't care. They're criminals. We shouldn't take care of them. No. Why? A lot of the people in that prison are not convicted of a crime. There is no punishment them being there. They're just there waiting until their trial. That's it. There's no reason to treat people like that. But our county, nope. There's basically like when you're eating food there, the food's overcooked. There's no nutrients left. It's just filling your belly. You're probably getting nutrients though from the roaches that are infesting the place. I mean, it's an interesting experience, I'll tell you that. And after I found out while doing my research that the second largest demographic to suffer deletion at the hands of law enforcement is veterans. The night they came in, they tried to tell people that I fought them. Luckily, the neighbors witnessed it. They're like, no, he didn't. He was cooperative. Turned out they had their body cams off. And probably the most messed up part was they started giving me conflicting orders. So, like, one guy's like, get on the ground. The other guy's like, walk toward me. And they're giving me these two different orders. Which one are you doing? Which order are you going to follow? It was one of those experiences where it's like, wow, I almost didn't even make it to prison. And I hate to phrase it this way, but I feel like it was almost set up that way. There you go.
Well, it's in that case, I'm sure we're all glad that you made it. It's you get these instances, where you have your brush with death, so to say, and you can only be thankful that you came out on the other side,
Yeah.
So despite everything that happened, you should be grateful for that, Now you,
Oh, yeah.
you're in your home, you have the wife, you have the kids, getting stuff working on, it definitely could be worse. You seem to have the attitude, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I wanted to, before we sort of get into questions and more sort of about stuff in detail, we talked, of course, about, and you mentioned it, that you have all of your stuff was stolen. You
Yeah.
have lost all of your stuff. And obviously, we want you to get back at it, to make reenactment stuff, to make authentic historical pirate clothes. So we had a bit of a chat about how you could get back into it, how you could scrounge together some money. So if you would like to talk about that a bit, what systems you have if people want to support you.
So I am not big on asking for help. And honestly, it was weird when I got to prison. One of the things a lot of people do is like, hey, what do you need? It's like, what do you mean? You're giving me stuff? And depending on what prison you go to, they will actually take care of you, and not in a bad way at all. And it ended up, it was when I got out, it's like, and I find out all this stuff's missing. My initial thought was, you know what? I'm just going to let it go. Like, I'm going to do other things. Then my daughter was like, started like nonstop, like, pirates, pirates, pirates. And then I made they always tell you don't read the Facebook comments or the YouTube comments. Well, I decided to hop on here and I started reading the YouTube comments. I'm like, people miss me? Wait, what? This caught me off guard. I'm like, okay. Well, then I started trying to figure out what all's left. And there was like, I think I did post a short where it's like the flag and like some of my coffee stuff. That was it. And I started talking to you actually, and it was like, I had a list of like, man, this stuff I need. And you're like, that's not going to work. There's too many wish lists. Like you can't coordinate that. So finally sucked it up and started to GoFundMe, which actually when even one person donated, I'm like, wait, okay, that feels good. That feels good. Thank y'all. So we got GoFundMe running. I'm starting to get materials in. As I do, I might start listing things for sale because I love making. It's part of who I am. One thing for sure though, like I don't think I'm going to do some of the custom stuff I used to do. I'm doing a lot more off the rack, and I'm going to be doing stuff that I want to make things that look like a sailor would be given them, not like something that somebody bought in 2024 and it's pretty and pristine. No, I want to make something that somebody just pulled out of the back of the hold, and it looks like it stinks, but it will not.
But considering it's a reenactor item, it will stink.
Eventually.
Yes. Anyway, for anyone, there tends to be some people who support the stream monetarily. I would appreciate it, of course, if you make a super chat or whatever. I'm not gonna complain, but I would appreciate if you would consider checking the video description or the stream description, where I put links to Danny's GoFundMe and Buy Me a Coffee, and so we can get him back on his feet again. And I'll also post it here in the chat so people can take a look. And obviously, this should be seen as like Danny has like lost all of his tailoring equipment, so the GoFundMe it's essentially an investment, like enabling him to buy these tools again, so he can get back into work, so we can start purchasing stuff from him.
It got bad enough that one of the guys actually went so far as to steal all of my left shoes.
What about the right shoes?
They left them, and that was I'm going through my storage unit. I'm like, okay, I probably grab my shoes, and I'm like, okay, there's one. Oh, look, there's one. Wait a minute. And at that point, it's like, oh my God, they did this on purpose.
Yeah, there could be so many explanations to this, and I'm not sure if I want to know half of them. I'm not even sure if I want to know.
I will say the one guy in particular, the one locally. So a few years back, several women came forward about his behavior at events, and I put him on. Basically, I'm like, look, you can't come to our events anymore.
Did he steal the left shoes?
He wanted to steal a lot more than left shoes. We'll put it that way. And we were like, no, like, you can't come to our events anymore. Well, for some reason, American reenactors, and I know there's some of them on the chat, you guys need to police yourselves, but American reenactors are some of the creepiest individuals I think I have ever met. And there'll be people will come forward like, look, this person did something really, really, really bad. Like, there's full-on chomos in some of these units. Oh, no, he's my buddy. We drink beer all the time. He's fine. It's like, no, he literally is a chomo. Like, there's children that have come forward about this guy. There's women that have come forward. Get rid of him. No, you can't tell us what to do. It's like, and because American reenactors don't really relate to the general public, there's like a lot of these sites don't know that some of this stuff goes on. Frankly, I think if I ran a historical site, a good chunk of reenacting groups I probably just wouldn't even allow, just because of some of the stuff that gets on with them. And this was a great example. This guy did all this stuff, and then one of the women and then a good chunk of his friends are like, no, you need to forgive him. Let him. It's like, okay, fine. I'll give him basically probation with me. It's like, if he's actually cleaned up his act and stuff, cool. Clearly, he did not clean up his act.
Also, I'm going to interrupt briefly, just to clarify this. So Raymond asked who took all the stuff, the police? So can you clarify who took it?
So the police, first of all, thought I was a Civil War reenactor, which really cracked me up. Because, I mean, y'all remember how my office was. It was full of pirate flags and everything else. Nope, I was a Civil War reenactor. No, it was members, it was reenactors. Except for one guy who my wife is pretty sure he might have actually been the big cause of her flashback, because he was a friend of ours. He had recently lost his job, and he was a friend's son, and then that friend died, and we kind of just adopted him as our friend. Yeah, no. He ended up taking over $1,000 from my wife. He took my guitar, which is like the last present my mom ever bought me. My old computer, like he literally just took everything and ran. And then the guy who this cracks me up with the guy that really I should never have forgiven, which that's another thing. If I start doing events again, if you have done things to women and children, you are out. You are not, there's no, I'll forgive you. No, you're done. It's after this guy. Nope. That's, you can like get all the therapy you want. No, I'm not okay with it anymore. Like, it's like, I don't have trust anymore with these people. He ended up actually, so some of the people in Florida, one of the reenact pirate groups in Florida, Crewe the Scavenger, I'll call him right out. I've been calling him out for a while now. They actually ordered stuff, and he ended up stealing it from them. Which, I'm sorry, like, it's one of those things of like, you guys upset about this? Man, sucks, man. You steal from me, and then you get robbed? Man. And they kept trying to say, like, no, we didn't mean to do that. It's like, no, I have the chats. You guys were literally, there were people telling you that it was illegal to do that, and you still did it. It was like, if I didn't have the chats, I would not be saying any of this public. I'd just be like, yeah, some people stole stuff. No, I know who did it. If I didn't have a criminal record, the police would be all over it, and it'd be nice watching them get a criminal record for something they did do.
Right. No, I think like personally, like of course you've you mentioned it before, and like that you've you published a novel, right? Or one? Is it one of them? Yeah, I think like if you two. Also, you can, if you, I don't think I have the links to them. Like if you send it to me quickly in the email, I can post it in the video description and also the chat. But yeah, I mean, this whole story, you know, it's a pretty good novel fuel. You know, you can work something into it. Like if you want to do some cyberpunk stuff, or if you want to just do the literal story, or hell, you can even make it about pirates. I think, you know. Have like it is kind of
my plan, actually.
I mean, it is kind of Captain Blood reminiscent, isn't it? Like this this guy who's unjustly cheated by his comrades, and he goes out to seek revenge against the crew of the Scavenger. Can name it like the crew of the Vulture or something like that, you know.
Well, the thing is, like, I always thought of them as like the darlings of pirate reenacting. Like, they're the ones that, like, they go out to an isolated island, have an awesome event. They have decent authenticity standards, everything like that. And then after this happening, like, all these different people started crawling out of the woodwork. Like, man, I've had issues with them. They've done this. It's like, why didn't y'all tell me this before? I wouldn't have trusted them around me.
People just grab your shit, you know.
Like that. I still, like, I would feel so guilty. Like, if I accidentally stole a candy bar from the store, like, oh, I gotta pick up this candy bar on the way out. Okay, cool. Pay for my stuff. Oh, crap. I would feel guilty about that. It would be like a candy bar. Now, these people were stealing stuff like family heirlooms, stuff that's like, the table that I always had next to me. That was actually my great grandmother's. It's gone. Like, the stuff that was taken, like, everything had a story. Like, I had stuff that I'd gotten as gifts from, like, my buddy Mark, who, he's the one who looks like a gnome in pretty much all my videos. He gave me, like, when we first met, he gave me some stuff. There's a spoon that one of the blacksmiths at Fort Loudon gave me. Like, one of the first events I did as a privateer in that case, one of the blacksmiths at that site gave me some stuff, and it's like, it didn't have really, like, monetary value. Yeah, it probably was worth a good bit, but it was that personal value. Like this, everything I had a story, and it's like it's gone now.
Yeah, and it kind of gives you a bit of context, you know, because like plundering is such a, and when you look at like history, there's like a lot of these phenomena appearing like constantly throughout history, and you're like, oh, this is so weird, this is so alien compared to how we live nowadays. And then you see like stuff like plundering, for example, where they take like, you know, completely absurd things, you know, like there was this huge thing, you know, in where you would plunder artwork, for example. You would steal books from libraries and stuff like that, and then you wouldn't read them. You would just keep them as like a trophy, essentially. And all of these mundane things, which wouldn't really have, not like gold and silver and stuff like that, but
What
just
cracked
keep
me
items, you know.
the other week, so I had done that Buccaneer hat for you, and
Mm.
yes, chat, that's who the Buccaneer hat was for. I forget if I ever mentioned it, but luckily that survived. I'm looking at it. It's like
Yeah,
the
they
thing.
don't want to fuck with me, you know.
Well, it was poor. Like it obviously had been through the ringer, but it survived. And I'm looking at it like something's missing. They took the little piece of hemp that was tied around it, and it was sewn in. That was the thing. I had sewn it in the back so it never wouldn't fall off, and you could just see where it was torn out. I'm like, you stole a piece of hemp. Like I've read that in accounts of pirates stealing pieces of hemp, but I was thinking like a big cable. I'm not thinking like it's like what is wrong with you? Why? Why would you do that?
Dudes need floss, I guess. I don't know. Okay, so Cal said in the chat, you go to islands to reenact piracy. I go to islands to enjoy women in bikinis. You know, Cal, voyeurism is against the law. But yeah, let's see if we can grab some questions now. I'm gonna go back all the way to the beginning. Michael Smith asked at 4:58 p.m. Did they put you in a gibbet?
That is well. What's interesting is like the United States has banned like public shaming as a punishment. But when you're arrested, they immediately put your picture like in the newspaper, on social media. And it's like, okay, so the person's not convicted of a crime, and now they are forever associated with that crime. If it turns out they're innocent, that picture and that post will remain. If an employer Googles it, they're going to find them. And the United States is really weird. And I'm having been through the criminal justice system, I can tell you, like, all the awful stories people tell you, they're true. Like, they're not exaggerated. Like, one of the complaints about this prison. Now, luckily, I was on the working block, so our guards just generally just left us alone. But on the main line, there's been plenty of incidents where guards will take people out of camera shot and just beat them up. There's one that I remember one time I was delivering food and one of the guys looks at me and is like, hey, avoid that guard. I'm like, what do you mean? That's the Iceman. I'm like, what do you mean that's the Iceman? That's what we call him. The other year he killed a guy. I'm like, what? I said, no, it turned out, yeah, this guy legit just killed an inmate. Like, the guy was on the ground. The guy was no longer fighting, and he suffocated him. And he didn't get any punishment for it. Like, everybody knew he did it. It was on camera. No punishment. And one of the things that you learn in prison, like one of the reasons, like as a lighter complected guy, one of the reasons I was like, here's my paperwork. When you go in there, if you see a really clean cut looking African American guy, most of the time it's going to be for something stupid like drugs or walking down the street. If you see a clean cut looking white guy, chomo, usually a chomo. You don't really see too many white collar criminals in our prison. So it's usually, yeah. And I'll never forget most of my cellies were black. At one point I was talking, I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't trust white people anymore. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I know that you guys are cool. I know that you guys are fine. But I'm like, I know that you guys are fine, but when I talk to white people, it's like in prison, it's like, why are you clean cutting in here? Like, what'd you get arrested for? Oh, I've been in for 2 years. I'm not cleaned up. I'm actually a heroin addict on the outside. Okay, cool. I can deal with that. I can work with that.
Yeah, someone also asked, I think, about the difference between prison and jail.
So, in most states, jail is basically where you go to wait for trial. Like it's not it's basically like a hotel nobody really wants to go to. And then prison is the punishment. In my county, we don't have a jail, we have a prison. And so you could be somebody that has never committed a crime, you're just waiting for court, and they'll put you in with people that are convicted murderers. Which, I mean, it's sad, but I trust the convicted murderers more than I trust like some of the people on the outside now. That's like, because I know what I'm getting with them. Many times it would be a heat of the moment crime, things like that. That's probably why they did it. On the like, they're not people, they don't steal from you. They generally just keep to themselves. Man, that's dark.
So Piotr asked if you will join the Jacobites now that you have been released.
I will admit, though, I am involved. I've started getting involved with various activist groups locally because there is a problem. Like like the prison, the police system in my county, it's bad. It is corrupt. Like, we have a for-profit prison, and we're not sure who all is in it, but we know quite a few of the judges are investors in it. How's that right? How is somebody like, they make money by sending people there?
Can you explain how they make the money?
So, a for-profit prison, basically, imagine a hotel with no amenities. So they'll tell you, oh, it costs like thousands of dollars a day to take care of it. No, it does not. It really doesn't. The type of food that's given and stuff, an inmate's probably only maybe a $5 a day investment, if that. And then the costs and fines start adding up. And if you start throwing in people that didn't do anything or don't have the means to fight, they're going to get costs and fines. You get so you got your court costs and fines, stuff like that. And then they get money from the federal government. They get grants and things like that. So owning a prison, it's a good investment. And the more people they put in that prison, the more money they get from it.
Yeah, well, if there are any kids in the chat, now you know your new career line in life. This is where all the money is. So I mean, I'm not an expert in this, but I've heard this like a pretty big thing in the US with prison labor as well as making money from that. Do you have anything to say on that point?
So people do not realize this, but the 13th Amendment did not ban slavery. It partially banned slavery. If you are convicted of a crime in the United States, you can still be enslaved. And I came to find out that you don't even have to be convicted. They just do it to you anyway. So I worked for the prison kitchen. They'll tell you it's volunteer. If you refuse to work there, you'll get sent to the hole. The hole is basically solitary confinement. You don't see anybody. You don't get any commissary. You don't get, like, you have no special privileges. You are just literally in a windowless cell. That's what happens if you refuse to work the kitchen. And you will work for 7 days a week. You get no days off. If you're sick, You either have to fight through it or hope that the doctor writes you a slip. Because if you, I'm sick, I can't work, they'll send you to the hole. And you're working 8 to 10 hour days, just nonstop. I spent all 3 months, just that's what I was doing. Now, the advantage is you get to leave your cell block. Sometimes you can even walk around. I was a blue tag, so I was basically, it's like, hey, you need to run this to different parts of the prison. It's like, yay, I get to just leave and walk around and not care. But it's definitely not, it's not a friendly situation. And keep in mind, I was not convicted at that time. Keep in mind that I have been paid as a chef before. I have been a banquet manager before. So if I got hired somewhere, we're probably looking at maybe like I don't know, probably a good $25 an hour, probably more. No, I was getting paid $30 a week.
It's not a lot.
No.
They should have paid you in gold doubloons, I think.
And one of the worst things was a few of my friends actually got in touch with me after I got out to let me know that they had sent me commissary. And it's so you can buy extra food and stuff. It's one of the only ways to actually get anything in that prison.
Yeah,
and they had
that's
actually
the
sent
thing.
me
That's the thing
commissary.
also for that's also, I think, for those who don't know. Could you explain the commissary?
So prisons in the United States do not feed people enough food. They do not give them necessities. Like you had to buy your own socks and underwear, that sort of thing. And they will upcharge things. So let's say you're paying $1.25 for a candy bar. Let's say that on the outside, it's like $5 in prison for that same candy bar. And it's how you supplement the lack of food. People will send you money from the outside, or you'll have a job in prison. There's also the possibility that you might have another career in prison. It's actually why paper products are hard to find, because American prisoners figured out that you can put interesting substances inside paper. But that's how people make money in prison. And then so some of my friends were sending me money, trying to get in touch with me, because my whole thing was I had nobody to talk to that entire time I was in. Nobody on the outside. I had no way to get messages out. Apparently, my wife at one point, after she got therapy, had been trying to get a hold of me. They wouldn't let her. And it turned out that I'm not sure if it was an accident, because you gotta understand, these prisons, they are poorly run. Some of it is by design. Some of it is literally they don't know what they're doing. They took all the money and never sent me any of the messages. So I got to the point where I'm like, I thought nobody on the outside wanted to talk to me. I thought I was like gonna have to start completely over with my entire life. No. The prison was just stealing everything. And it's a normal thing. It's literally just what it does. And anytime people try to talk about it locally, it's, well, they're criminals. We shouldn't care about them. It's like, no, they're not.
Yeah, dude, you gotta stop being so selfish. They gotta make the money somehow, you know. Now, someone you mentioned it also, but so you spent because someone asked about it, like specifically how long you were in prison. It was 3 months, right?
3 months.
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania, they treat 3 months in Dauphin County Prison like they considered it basically like doing 6 months in state prison because of how bad the conditions are.
Yeah, Piotr said you have to buy stuff from the prison. Literally 1684. Yeah, it's like insane. Like they also had like the bar inside the prison and stuff, and like the store and everything. Except that they had like women you could interact with it in the prison. How was like this is like gonna be an edgy question, but you said like in the pre-talk they don't have like any limits. But what's the everyone's heard about dropping the soap. So how was the how was the sexual situation in prison?
So we did have female guards. We did have female staff.
Ooh
And
la
there was a
la.
lot of times where, like, the one day I'm walking along and I'm like, I was walking back to my block from working the kitchen. I was with a whole bunch of my cellies, and they were like lingering, and I'm like, all of a sudden up ahead, I'm like, oh, nice. And I run up and start talking to this one. It turned out she was a therapist. So I'm just like, I ended up walking the whole way to my block just talking to her because she was going my way. And it was just, they were so mad because I forgot to hold the doors for them. So they had to wait for them to unlock. But if you, so I mentioned like chomos are a no-go in prison. The other one is like people who are word people. That's a no-go. I did hear from like people who had been in prisons in other states, like some states, it happens. Pennsylvania is not one of those states. If somebody tries to do something like that to you, you need to like take care of yourself, number one. And usually if other people find out, they'll also take care of it. I mean, there was would have been one of the first times I was in court. Come downstairs and we're in the holding cell, and a couple of the guys, they looked at me, they're like, hey, the sheriff's brought in this one guy. I'm like, ooh, what's his charges? Why isn't he in here? And they're like they went through all this stuff that this guy had done to children. I'd had a really bad day at that point, and I'm just looking at that guy, and I'm like he's looking at me. I've never made somebody scared before. That was like this moment of like, it was the moment where I realized like I was a different person in prison. I became a criminal in prison. Because there I was having a bad day, and then I find out like stuff that this guy had done. This was like a real monster. This is somebody that should be in prison. And yeah, those stories about what happens to people like that in prison, they are 100% true. I can't say too much about what I might have done in those circumstances, but yeah. Don't mess with kids.
Someone there's I see there's a discussion here between two gentlemen in the chat. So Raymond said, I would do all I can to move to a better country or state for the sake.
That's the plan, honestly. At this point, we're trying to get out of this state because it's just literally, if they could have, what I was accused of, if they had literally just typed it into Google, they would have found the original case. And they could have been like, wait, this already happened. We can't, what? The kicker on that whole thing is I end up pleading to 2 misdemeanors. Would have been simple assault and harassment. The guy, now that's like, those are real charges. The guy that originally attacked us, put me in the ER. I had a real bad concussion. He was yelling racial slurs the whole time he was doing it. Anti-Semitic slurs. He got a summary harassment charge, which literally, it's nothing. You could say something mean to somebody on the internet and get a summary harassment charge. Like it's nothing. It's like, why in this county did I get, not only did I get charged for something that already happened, but why'd I get such bad charges? Like, what's the story behind that? I should add, like, I made a short, probably it was over the summer. I was complaining about how our historical society was poorly run and wasn't taking care of the local buildings. The person that was in charge when all these buildings started falling apart is now on the council, and their son is a cop. Think that might have had something to do with it. Not entirely sure.
Ariel says the link doesn't work. Ariel, when I click the link in the description or copy paste it works for me. Can somebody else try and click it? Cal, I know what you're doing. If you're not gonna stop, I'm going to ban you from the comments. Be nice to Danny and his wife and the kids.
Actually, that's an interesting thing I encountered.
Yeah, sure, go on.
There was very, like, how do I phrase, like, there was racism on the part of a lot of the guards. There was very little racism among the inmates. Like, people would make racist remarks here and there, but there was never any actual hateful sort of racism. That was one of the weirdest things, like, because I know out in that California prison system, they have, like, the Aryan Brotherhood, things like that. No, as long as you didn't do things to kids, we were all chill.
Yeah, one of my friends, like, when he heard about this, he said, like, yeah, Danny's gonna come out of prison and he's gonna have, like, the windmill on his neck tattooed.
So because those of you who know my last name in real life, it was originally an Italian name, and then my family shortened it. Because of what they shortened it to, the prison officials thought I was black. So they usually try to, like, keep, like, if they're, like, they keep races together in their cells. So yeah. It was an interesting experience, and I actually had a good time. Like, I learned a lot. I had a lot of actual good discussions. Like, it was not, like, I can't say anything bad about the inmates that I was with. Some of them did awful things, and I can't say bad things about them because they really were, like, good people when I needed people on my side. It's like they were there for me. They never wanted anything in return. That was the coolest part. It was a night and day difference. Like, hate to say, I think everybody should spend at least, like, one day in prison to get that experience.
Yeah, now you got the N-word pass as well.
No, I did not. Although the one day somebody said about me being a white boy, and one of my black friends, he got so mad. He got up in their face like, he is Italian. He is not white. Do not call him white.
Oh my God.
I'm like, Green, man, chill. It's okay.
All right, Spammer said that the GoFundMe works. Yeah, Monster said pee on forehead, German windmill on neck. Yeah, so yeah, if you would get branded, like, where would you want to get branded? I mean, maybe you have a brand, but it's only for the ladies.
I do have the Immortan Joe skull symbol on the back of my neck from Mad Max Fury Road. That is tattooed, but I would get it branded.
Yeah, did you get any prison tattoos?
No. Did I learn how to do them? Yeah.
Yeah, how do you do them, actually? I'm curious.
So, if you're in like, state prisons, you can get some battery operated stuff. You can take those apart and make, like, an actual tattoo gun. In county prisons, you don't get a lot of that. So one of the guys was teaching me how to do it with sharpened staple.
What?
And it's basically you're putting the needle in, like, and basically, like, flicking it up a little bit as you pull it out, so it embeds the ink under your skin.
Oh my God.
and you make the ink with usually like a hand lotion, something like that, and lamp black, which you get from burning toilet paper into a apple.
What's an apple? What's an apple?
So Monster said that there's like a racial discussion. Ironically, in the 18th century, you probably would have been described as black because of your hair, and some people. So basically, just to like clarify this, so in like the I think before the 20th century and before the 19th century, if someone had a dark complexion, as in they would have dark hair, you would call them, say they're dark. It's the same as saying like someone is tall, dark, and handsome. So like both, I'm not sure if I clarify it. It depends on the lightning. But Danny clarifies as dark. It's just like if you have dark hair, you count as like dark complexion. So you see like a lot of like Bartholomew Roberts, he was described as being black. I think that's because like a lot of Welshmen have the like swarthy Mediterranean-ish complexion. Actually, a funny thing. Actually, aboard slave ships, they would classify the crewmen based on the complexion they had. And I read about it. Actually, there were two Swedish crewmen aboard an English slave ship, and they were classified as dark because they had darkish hair. So yeah, just to clarify that it doesn't have like if someone was from Africa, they would call them the N word not with the hard R. That was like the standard. Yeah. Also, if like obviously we have ended these sort of scripted segments, so if anyone has any questions for Danny or for me or whatever, you can just drop them in and we'll answer them. Also, Ariel said you still harassed Joe.
So her that's my wife for the chat, by the way. So
yeah,
she was having issues at work. I wasn't going to talk about that because I mean, the company did get bought out, so I guess I can. She was having issues at work, and I finally just like I had enough, and I like sent her direct boss like a whole bunch of messages, like called her big boss the B word. I was not in a good mood. It was I don't know if any of you remember, like when she had surgery back in September. They were supposed to let her work from home and stuff and so she could heal and while still working. Nah, their boss didn't allow it, and then like literally canceled it at the last minute. They had approved it and then just last minute canceled it. We had no backup plan, anything like that, and that was putting a lot of stress on us. And eventually, what caused my wife to have a complete like mental breakdown. Like she doesn't normally do that, but just all the stress with the money, her job, everything like that, just boom. It's just I kind of wish she would have picked something else instead of the crazy old roommate attacking us with a sword. I mean, there's many other things she could have had a flashback about. But no, it was that. It was that.
Monster asks now, Donald, do you think you could out barbecue Long John Silver at a cookout?
Definitely.
That's pretty bold. I mean, he was known as Barbecue for a reason. Probably.
I miss doing a lot of the cooking. That's like losing my cooking supplies. I think that part, like clothing I can make. That's what I do. But losing like my cooking supplies, that I've done like so actually I've never really talked about this before. So I'm a reenactor, but not in the normal sense. Like a lot of reenactors will do stuff for fun on the weekends. That's literally it. I will do things for sites. So sometimes I'll get paid for it. Sometimes it is like just because I love the site and want to work with it. Like I've made one of the events I did for actually the federal government. I ended up making something like $1,000 for just working 3 days. Like there's real money in doing this stuff. And like when people were like, "Oh, what's your hobby?" No, it's not my hobby, guys. It's my business. There's a big difference. And that was like something that's like, let's say my wife and I had separated and everything else. If it turned out like she had given stuff away, I could have actually gotten her in trouble because it was a business expense. It was never a marriage expense. And it was like when these people were like, "Well, no, she said no, she didn't. That she can't. Like literally, it was legally until the business was like." And it turned out they were apparently one of them had made a post on the Crewe the Fancy page that, "Oh, we'll refund you or send you the items if you're missing anything." Well, apparently people did reach out to the guy, and he said, "No, we changed our minds." And it turned out like all these people that had ordered stuff from me, they never got it. They never got refunded. A couple of them managed to get like a refund through PayPal, but there's still like a whole bunch of other people that their stuff was gone. The Swedish 17th century outfit I was working on the live streams, that's gone. We can't figure out where that got to. And it's gone. And it was somebody's things that it wasn't mine. That's like the worst part. And at this moment, we don't even know who took it. I mean, one of the guys from Florida is a maker. That was the part that's like, is this sabotage? Because this guy feels like sabotage. But the guy from Pennsylvania, like he's just a thief. And as far as I know, his unit even hasn't even kicked him out yet. And it's like, you guys need to do that. Like he stole from other reenactors. It wasn't just me. He knowingly took things from other reenactors. So if any of you, of course, he's a Polish reenactor. I mean, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's like I said in the email as well, and I'm qualified. I'm like 12% Polish. I can make jokes about the Polish being thieves, and that's also why also like Piotr, if you're still in the chat, that's why I mess with you so much. I'm allowed to do it. You cannot call me racist. No, it's actually kind of funny because yeah, your wife actually asked me like at some point like, "Hey, I got a bunch of like Danny's items. Do you want any of them?" And I was talking to my friend about it. It's like, Danny's gonna be so pissed, like when he gets out and he finds out that like
Well,
golden gunpowder has
the worst
stolen
part of it was like so she had her initials. She went completely crazy. And the thing is, in the past, if she's had a mental breakdown, she's always had friends around her that know the situation and they're able to bring her out of it. This time around, she had literally the people that were stealing. And of course, they're not going to tell her, "Hey, something feels wrong." No, they just. And then when she finally got therapy, that's when they all split because it's like, "Oh no, she's figured it out now. He didn't actually do it."
Yeah, it's I mean it's insane, you know. It's absolutely crazy scenario, absolutely absurd.
I need to stress again, people, do not abuse your kids because in the future, they'll end up in situations where they might lose like their grasp of reality. Like I don't think PTSD for adults is bad, but when it happens in childhood, you can have a lot more of like delusional kind of things happen. You can hallucinate things because it's such an deep-rooted trauma. Like when that's part of the reason like why people who do things to kids in prison don't have a good time. Because even we as prisoners, we recognize like kids' minds are developing. If you hurt them in that time period, it messes them up for the rest of their lives. And the worst part of it is, in this county, they let these people walk with really minimal charges, really minimal time. So in prison, don't know how that dude fell off his bunk. I didn't see a thing.
Yeah, I know, and it's like these reenactors, with the PDF file issues. I think they took it a bit to heart about reenacting, the pederast stuff. I think they could chill about that. We can drop in back to the real life issues, but some people ask some like historical and like some more thematic, like fun questions. So I'm just gonna take those real quick. So Spamman asked, have been wondering if you know whether pirates would actually carry / hoard treasure on their ships, or would they be wanting to trade sell as soon as they got some plunder? So yeah, they definitely kept treasure aboard their ships. There is quite I think like there's definitely I think both from Bellamy's ship there are like written descriptions of him keeping treasure, and they also have like in the wreck of the Widow Galley they found a bunch of his money that he just had. And there are also like descriptions, of course, about where they kept the treasure. They usually kept it like between the decks. If I remember correctly, I think some of them kept it in the captain's cabin, but some also prefer to keep it in the cargo hold specifically, so it wouldn't be kept by the captain. So it would kind of be sort of shared by the crew. But if they would want to trade or sell as soon as they got some plunder, they would definitely try to sell, like if they had goods, they would try to sell those, like either if they had the opportunity or at the end of the voyage. Because pirates, I mean, it's kind of hard to draw like a line. I wanted to say like they wanted hard cash, but it's not exactly correct either, because some of them did want goods as like the share. So like the goal of like every pirate is to receive his payment, which is like the share, which is a share of the total plunder. And the share could be taken. It could be taken in hard cash, but it could also be taken in plunder. So like if you have, there's actually this French code of conduct which stipended that the captain would receive all of the cauldrons they took, because cauldrons were very valuable equipment in the sugar industry. So if you wanted to become a plantation or if you wanted to trade with the sugar industry, then cauldrons were very valuable. And also, it was very common to take also slaves as a share, because slaves could be sold or you could keep them as labor force and whatever. So if they would definitely carry treasure. They would not want to, if they had like hard cash, they would probably not. I don't think they would ever want to spend that cash. It's rather if they had like material plunder, they would either keep it to share out or they would sell that to smugglers or tradesmen as soon as possible. Danny, do you have any additions to that answer?
No, I mean, like, one thing they didn't do was bury it.
Yeah, I mean, as a rule, yeah, there are like some who some were like buried it as like safekeeping, but it was like individual like sailors if they wanted to hide it for like a short period, essentially as like a bank. Someone also asked, I think I can let you answer this question. Well, I think it's questions for both of us, but I'll let you take it first. So Henrietta asked, do you boys like the Orky Space Pirates from 40k, so Warhammer 40k? They're called the Freebooters. Loving the pirate content.
40k is something I have never gotten into, but I love looking at some of the artwork and character designs. So I know nothing about it, but like if I saw one of the images, I'd be like, I know what that is. Actually, I'm gonna look this up real quick.
Yeah, it's very iconic. Yeah, I know about the freebooters. I'm not like I do like 40k or like bits of it, but the freebooters it's not like I dislike them, but it's not like my cup of tea. But I'm familiar with it. I think there's like someone in the Discord who's like named after them. But yeah, I do like 40k. I watch like this like YouTube channel who makes really good 40k videos. Kind of nice to listen to. I think it's Lutin06 or something. I don't know if you've seen him, Donald.
Nah. I watch like sometimes Jingles, Mighty Jingles. He does a lot of gaming videos. Sometimes he does some 40k stuff, especially like he had some older videos from years ago when I first started watching him.
Right. It's I know nothing about the tabletop. It's like I know nothing about wargaming. It's like the mostly lore. I also played like I played, what was it called, Darktide, which is like the Vermintide Warhammer clone essentially. Yeah, let's see if we had any more like questions. Yeah, your dear wife Ariel asked, has anything changed in your relationship with your family since?
So my local family, I I disowned a long time ago. Like, I do
Yep.
not associate with them. They have. I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. They're racist scum. Flat out. Like, I grew up in the hills. I'm a redneck.
Yeah, and
Flat out.
you're a black man now. You can't be among them anymore.
And I think one of the greatest moments for me was finding out that side of my family is half Mexican.
Ay caramba.
And these people are some of the most racist individuals I've ever met. One of them's a cop, another's sitting on the council. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I almost got taken out by my own family, we'll put it that way. And they have a history of doing that. And it's like, they're not, and after this whole experience, it's like, no. My cousin thinks I'm crazy because I don't believe his racist BS. And I don't understand it. I did not know that to be sane you had to be a dirtbag, but I guess in his eyes it's what you I'd rather be crazy in that case.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not sure if I mean it seems good with your like immediate family with like the kids and everything, and the wife is here shit posting in the chat. That's
I
pretty
see her. She's
That's
just
pretty good. Yeah, just having a time of her life.
she's gotten therapy. Like, she is better than she was. Like, that's like some people are like, why'd you take her back? Because she worked on herself. I
Yep.
cannot fault her for that. She's the mother of my kids. I can't fault her. If she's proven that she wanted to get better, she is better. She's better than she was. I don't think, like, and now she's in touch with her, like, the good side of her family. So now they're keeping her in check. They're making sure, like, she's not going off the deep end. And I'm pretty sure they're going to be a consistent thing in our lives now. And I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Like, started talking to her grandmother. Her grandmother's awesome. Just FYI.
Right. Yeah, no, it's I thought about it earlier, like when you talked about the prison system, and it's like forgiveness is a very, it's an expensive thing. It's like one of those virtues which is hard to do. So it's it seems to be especially expensive, in your legal system. So it's good that you practice it, in your real life, and that you guys are back together. I've seen like in the Discord, everyone is glad to see that you guys are back together, and that the kids and everyone are happy. That was like what we were most worried about, and during like the period of like uncertainty, we had no idea what was going on. So we were just glad to know like that the kids were doing right.
The kids,
And
I was like,
you guys are back together, and hopefully, we can get your job back, back with the tailoring, back with the reenactment, that would be awesome, but yeah, that was also like a thing before I forget it. So now it's gonna, but there's not a whole lot of people here watching, so I don't think anyone's gonna mind the spoilers. I was talking to, I did an interview like a few weeks ago with Kevin Duffus. I don't know if you know about him.
yeah.
So he's sort of affiliated with the annual Blackbeard Festival in one of the I think North Carolina. It's near Ocracoke. Are you familiar with it?
Yes.
Yeah, I talked to him about. I told him a bit about your pickle, and maybe like getting you into contact with those guys. Is that something you would be interested in? Like,
Oh,
hanging
yeah,
out
yeah.
and like working with them?
See, a few years ago, we were actually going to do it, and I even forget what happened. Something came up in the world. Didn't get a chance to do it, but yeah, I'm.
Yeah, no, that would be an awesome. And I think like that's something like, even if you don't have your equipment, you could do something like you do the cooking, since you have the experience. Like, that is awesome, And he talked about it. I asked him like, hey, what's your like favorite pirate food? And he said, oh, it's pancakes. And is that like I don't know if pancakes are authentic? And I said, yeah, well, we have Shelvok, who talks about, I don't know if you read it, but like Shelvok said that they ate pancakes at some point.
Pancakes are like everybody has a version of pancakes. Like, throughout history, it's all you need is like some sort of a grain and some way to heat them up. That's it. And like I forget which event it was. I think it was one I did in Massachusetts. Everybody wanted pancakes. It's like I had no way to keep milk because we were in the middle of a heat wave. I couldn't the cooler was melting too quickly. Like I couldn't safely keep the milk. And I'm like, what do I have that I can make pancakes with? Beer. So I made beer pancakes, and it's become like a thing. Like even my son asked for them because the beer, it adds like enough weight to them so that they stick together and everything. But it also has like a certain like sweetness to it. So like if anybody wants to try them, I highly recommend them.
Hell, I think you could do something like that, or even like do some sort of like I think it would be awesome, like do the Labatt barbecue, roast the whole pig. That would of course require a bit of investment.
Oh yeah.
Cal also mentioned, yeah, he talks about Ötzi, the Iceman he was found with, like they found like remnants of pancakes in his, or rudimentary pancakes. That was like Ötzi, the Iceman or caveman found in the Der Alps. Now, have you been speaking about like Florida and stuff? Have you, and the Carolinas? What state are you planning on moving to? You should come to Sweden.
I'm not giving that away yet.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's like this honestly the first time I've even opened up about like having my family back in my life. So because it's just I have lost a lot of trust in people, especially locally. And it's one of those things. It's like my wife's worked on getting herself better. She's made real attempts. Like she has gone. It's funny. She's actually communicated with the judges and they still won't drop anything. She's like admitted to them like it didn't happen. Okay, but he's still charged with it.
Yeah, they got you in the claws now, boy, and they ain't letting go.
And it's one of the things that actually during that prison roundtable I discussed, somebody brought up
what is could you explain it? What is the prison roundtable?
So because our prison is so bad, they've started having public roundtables to discuss changes with it. Probably not going to do a dang thing about it, but one of the things that was brought up is when people go before, like at our prison, so let's say I got released on bail, I could go to court, I'd be wearing a nice suit, I wouldn't be in handcuffs, nothing. When you're in prison, when you go to court, you're wearing the prison jumpsuit and you're in handcuffs. If you're a judge and jury, what do you see coming towards you? You see a criminal. You don't see a person, you see a criminal. And that's one of the things that they brought up. It's like people cannot get a fair trial when they're being perceived the moment they walk in that door as a criminal. They wouldn't even allow me to have hair ties. And it was one of those things where I'm like, I really should get my hair cut and not look like Charles Manson. But I was worried, like, especially my daughter wouldn't recognize me. So I'm like, nope, I will look like Charles Manson the whole time in prison just for my daughter. Kellyanne, you recognize me.
I will not recognize you.
Well, at least you recognize them. I hope at least. Now Killian's grown like 2 meters since you in the 3 months. You know they grow up so fast. It's something they put in the water. You know.
But one day I was in his room like, whose shoes are those? I thought some grown ass man was sneaking around my house and left shoes. They were his shoes.
Yeah, Captain Swan or something. You know. What are those like heavy indents in the floor? Like, yeah, they hit a gargantuan foot noses like boom, boom, boom. No, that's completely insane. Well, you know, it's like we said, you know, glad the kids are back out, you know. But what was like the I mean, overall, you've shared quite a lot of like positive experiences in like prison. But do you have like any sort of, if you want to share, do you have any like something rotten that happened, something that was just real down the gutter bad, like something which like just I mean, even if it's not something major, like it's just something nasty, you know.
One of the things, like, because when I finally decided that I was not going to self-delete, I decided to have a mindset of just being completely positive, because it's like, why be negative? The place is already like literally as bad as it can get. Like there's no place worse. I mean, this is the worst. Like when I was there, I think at least 2 people died. Like the place smells like urine. Like that's all you smell is pee. Nonstop. There's roaches everywhere. I mean, one of my favorite things was to stomp out roaches, and people like I just go after them, and people would be like, "What is wrong with you, Curly?" And I'm like, "They're just like prison guards. They can leave anytime they want, but here they are, making our lives hell." And they're like, "Oh my God, this is bad."
Dark Danny.
And that is probably that's probably the worst thing, is when you have to focus on survival when you're in there. You have to make sure that you are getting food, you're getting enough sleep, you're getting enough water, but you're also physically needing to defend yourself. I luckily was only ever, I had 2 close calls where I almost had fights. That was it. Most people, they left me, well, I shouldn't say they left me alone. They actually liked hanging out with me. That was the weird part. I started drawing, and that was like the thing that really helped me communicate with people that otherwise wouldn't even talk to me. So they, like, prisoners love art because there's no phones, there's no cameras, but like you can't like do anything creative, and you can't see anything creative. Whatever's on the TV is what's on the TV. So doing art and stuff, that was like a way for people to actually have that. There's a guy that started using me like a prompt for an AI. He'd come up, lesbian mermaids. Lesbian mermaid. You want? Yeah, lesbian mermaids, man. Okay, cool. He'd pay me. I start drawing, and I go down here, man. Thank you, man. This is awesome. One night, I'm sound asleep, and all I hear is this knock on my cell. I'm like, what the hell? I wake up, and this guy's like, boobs with guns.
Badass.
I'm like, what?
Badass.
Finally, my one cellie's like, dude, stop waking us up with your crazy dreams.
Yeah, I can imagine, but I do not want to know what he did with those images in his private corner. Colt 1K asked, so you drew the picture behind you?
Yeah. Yep, that is my lovely experience of prison. I felt it was fitting to have that one behind me.
Right. Do you have also do you have like any sort of page where you post your art which you want to share share with the stream?
Actually, easiest way to get here, I'll just type it down here.
Sure.
Easiest way to find my art.
Rule34.com.
Damage Dystopia. If you type that into Facebook or Google, you'll find my stuff. There's a new art page called Kara that I've been using as well. It's got like I have like my portfolio on there.
Right.
I forget what my name is on it though.
Yeah, you can post like links in the comments, so you can send it to me by email, and I like put it in the video description. Recovering Libertarian said, I am way behind in this. I think like in general. So basically, like Danny got sort of unjustly imprisoned on. I mean, how do you begin to explain it? He was in prison for 3 months, and a bunch of people that he knew literally stole his items that he uses for reenactment, which is his job. He has worked as a reenactor on official events, state paid events, and he has also worked as a tailor, crafting items and sold them, and people stole his stuff.
Where's my pasta?
I think they took it a bit literally on, the whole, well, if you steal from a pirate, it's not theft, well,
And that's
it-
actually that's the worst way. Like that's literally how the county takes it, because it's like if this had happened anywhere else, they would be charged. And it's like I can't get them to understand that, because they're like, no, guys, you stole from a business. You didn't steal from an individual. You stole from a business. It's just shitty that my county is corrupt and views me as a criminal who has no rights in their eyes.
So Cal asked, okay, but what confuses me the most is how did they steal your items again? Were they in a garage or something in your home at like a shared space?
So, well,
Did they blast in the door with the battering ram?
CJ actually just literally just started walking out of my house with stuff. It was my son who caught him. He was stuff that he was like the main one who was like selling my stuff to the crew of the scavenger. And then sometimes he'd pocket the stuff and the money. There are quite a few things that he was supposed to like take to storage and he would steal. Like there was this guy like reading, like the worst part was they wrote this stuff down. Okay. Here's a lesson to any of you who want to start committing crimes. Don't write it down. And that's like, it was like when I got all the screenshots, I'm like, guys, what? I was gonna let this go at that point. I'm like, man, it was a misunderstanding, something like that. No, it wasn't a misunderstanding. They knew they were doing was wrong, and they wrote it down.
Yeah, there's a reason we don't have any documents from actual pirates. There's a good reason for it. Yeah, so Cal asked, so they like just burglarize you basically.
Basically, what happened was my wife was asking for help getting rid of stuff. In CJ's case, a lot of stuff he was supposed to be taking to my storage unit. My wife at the time was she was not getting therapy yet. She was in crazy land, and she didn't understand how much of the stuff was business. And CJ, this other guy, Ben Monaco, they started telling her, oh, you can take it. You can just take it and sell it. You can just do that. And her basically at that, her in a flashback having the mentality of maybe like a 12-year-old, she couldn't process, no, you can't do that. And when people start saying, yo, you can't do that, that's not cool. Like, it's funny, one of the guys him and I never get along. We'll try to be friends for like a week, and we just, for some reason, we don't connect. Even he was like, guys, you can't do that to him. He didn't do anything. He's not convicted. Even if he was, it's still not your thing. You can't do that. It's a business thing. And no matter, and when I did the short, the one line that just haunted me was when CJ said, like, basically, how's he gonna, like, can't wait till he gets out and realizes he lost everything. And it's like, one of my customers, this really sweet elderly gentleman, one of the nicest people I've ever met, he actually, like, apparently CJ contacted him a few weeks ago. He's like, I don't have your stuff. I don't know who does, but even if I'd keep it though. And it's like, what is wrong with you? Like, this is this old guy who just wants me to do his jacket. You took all the stuff that we got for his jacket. Like, how can you?
Well, of course, the best thing about coming out of prison was that you had a bunch of golden gunpowder videos just waiting for you to watch.
I haven't even gotten through them yet because it's like that's the other weird thing. You get out like there's like so many channels, including yours, that I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to watch. It's like, oh my god, you're amazed at how much gets posted in 3 months.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, and it's also like I pretty much completely changed the format of the channel. You were switched over to long form, so you just like come back and it's like, what is it, like 1 hour videos now? You know,
Yeah.
completely nuts.
Not like losing my cameras. That was like the really tough part because
Hmm.
I don't like. Yeah, I have my webcam, great, but I don't like being just stuck in this one spot. I like to be able to like go out to a site and take and film there and stuff like that. Oh man, okay. One of the I'll drop this spoiler when I relaunch the pirate round. My plan is to do the kid video literally across from where kid did hide some treasure, but it was later recovered by authorities.
Yeah, what was it called? Like the island where he met the
Gardner's
dude.
Island.
Yeah, Ghana. Yeah, speaking about that, like, what kind of like projects do you have like going on, and like what sort of like ambitions do you have for the plan, like projects you got
So
for the future?
of
What's
course,
lying in
everybody
store?
before I went to prison, I was in YouTube prison for they accused me of supporting extremism for talking about the pirates in the Red Sea.
Yeah, you supported this golden gunpowder dude. Yeah, he's real dangerous.
And like they still refuse to acknowledge that they messed up. Like I'm still confused. Like I keep trying to run it through my head and figure out like did I accidentally like support these guys or something. I think if anything what happened was I probably said to support the channel that I clipped it from, and they might have just like, oh, he's saying support these pirates in Yemen. No. But so pretty much anytime I post anything on the Crew of the Fancy, like there's no hope it'll ever be monetized. And frankly, I would like to have that possibility at some point. So I want to start a new channel that like still gonna talk about pirates and stuff, but might branch out to other criminals historically. I'm planning on calling it the Press Yard. Well, I actually already started, like I have the channel set up, I just haven't posted anything on it yet. But it's gonna be like after my whole experience, like, man, I want to like reread some of these criminal accounts and actually like figure out like what did that person go through? Was that person guilty? Was that person innocent? Like, how did they feel in that situation? Like, some of you might not know, like, the whole point of torture was to get people to plea guilty. Because then they could take their land. If, like, they could lose everything. They wouldn't have to go through the effort of a trial. And that's literally what my county does. So now that I've had that experience, I kind of want to I want to study it historically now and see like just how similar things are today.
Yeah, well, you know, and someone talked about it also, about the art, you know, that like it's good even if it comes from like a dark place, you know. So it's great, you know, that you managed to turn this experience into something positive, you know. And you know, someone said about it coming from a dark place, but you know, I think that's a lot of the really good stuff, you know, comes from a dark place. So you know, it's great to see like this experience just inspiring you to go to these new heights, and also look for something which is unique, you know.
Yeah.
Like you want to go for their experience specifically. And I think that's great also for someone like you know, William Kidd, because it seems like, I mean, you know, it's he definitely did do some things he should have been he should have gotten a slap on the wrist for at least. But you know, maybe he was still treated more like a scapegoat if you compare him to some other figures like
yeah.
Culliford, you know. I think is the big one who should have. Culliford probably should have been given at least the same punishment as Kid. There's someone here who asked the question, Spamman again. If a pilot were to get rich and quote unquote retire, how did they actually carry their gold and money? Were they banks they trusted, or did they physically carry around the net worth from place to place? It's a pretty big question, but I mean, you could always have like some sort of storage of money which you would keep in like a storage under lock and key, or you could bury it, even like some pirates did bury it temporarily, or you would keep the money in like you could have it collectively in a storage. You could have it with friends or family members, but you would always have like before a credit card, you would always have like money on the person. And sailors had, of course, they had their sea chests which they kept stuff in, including money and all of their belongings. They kept clothes in it, pistols and stuff like that. But sea chests were big, they were heavy, they were like essentially those like what do they call, like the rolling bags when you're a tourist or whatever, when you move between countries. They were heavy, so they were like, if you were really moving between places, you could keep money in that could be your treasure chest. But also, to have a lot of money in the days of like silver and gold money, you wouldn't actually need a lot of like coins. Like even just one coin would be worth a hell of a lot. So if you in terms of like weight, there wouldn't be a lot. But pirates would also, and I know you've done quite a lot of work on this, Donald. They would also sew money into their clothes.
Yep.
As a concealment method, as a carry method. And
that's how one of the that's how one of the guys got caught.
Yeah, exactly. One of them, I think it was one of Roberts's men. He was in England and he was like hanging with a prostitute, and she was like, his jacket is making a lot of noise, it's rattling a lot. And it was just, it was not like he had a few coins. The jacket was just full of money. So you could carry a lot of like money on your person. And of course, a lot of people, it wasn't even criminals that would have like money on them sewn into their clothes. It was just a convenient carry method. Thieves couldn't get at it. The crew of the scavenger couldn't get at it.
No, they'll take the whole jacket.
Yeah, so you could have like, but you could also have a purse. You could also have like a backpack. They had like these sort of backpacks with like a sling. Essentially, it was like the sort of you could have money in those. You could have a purse. You could have sew it into your clothes, and then you could bury the money. Have it with you. If you have a big amount, you could hide it with someone. And of course, it was really good to, of course, invest the money into items. A lot of people would have like valuable items like cutlery, property, of course, land, slaves, animals, ships. You could buy like a sloop or a boat as an investment. Investments were really good. Clothes, nice clothes. You could buy expensive clothes, and there's where your investment. You sell it in a bad day, or like a gold watch or whatever. There's a lot of opportunities. And of course, this is what people did also during, I think, in the inflations in the early 20th century. They were just a lot of the people who got away scot-free in like Germany, for example. They were people who had like expensive items, like expensive furniture. They would just get away from the inflation. Paul Mills asked the question for Crew of the Fancy. Do you still plan on tailoring clothes? And if so, where would one reach out to you about getting some things?
Right. I want to see how this weekend goes. I have some stuff getting delivered. I'm also picking up some stuff from one of my friends. So I want to see what I have supply wise. And then I'm going to go from there. I'm probably going to like most definitely post an announcement over on my channel. Like, hey, I'm starting to do it. Still not sure how I'm going to do it yet, because like I said before, I kind of want to do things a little bit differently. But yeah, especially for this era, like it's tough to get like good quality stuff that's not going to like break the bank. It's
Yeah, and of course, Paul Mills, if you want to help Danny get back on his feet again, if you look in the live stream description, there's links to his GoFundMe where you can send him a bit of money, and he's going to use that money to get back into the tailoring game. So it's essentially an investment into his business. You should see it like. And also, Dan, like you talked about, like, and of course this is like it's fucking this hyper masculinity shit, where it's like everyone's afraid to ask for help. Just take it from like a golden rule perspective. It's like, if someone you knew would be in your situation, would you help them like this? Think of it like that. I mean, it's a bit like it's a bit humiliating, but you know, it's I don't think anyone cares. You know, people want to stand up and help you if they can. So I don't think anyone should. Just think of it like that. Like if you could help, would you do it? You know. Spamman said, very interesting. So used to people being just numbers on a money being just numbers on a screen. Forget people used to actually have physical goods, and it's actually a really good rule to have nowadays. Like, you know, our money isn't really worth anything. The only money fiat money has is the money the government decides. And you know, if we have another inflation crisis, if something happens, you know, all of your money could be worthless. So it's a good thing to invest, not necessarily in like gold or silver, but just invest in like antique items. You know, buy stuff, buy land if you can. You know, that's hard, but of course, buy antiques, buy nice furniture, buy nice clothes. Just saving money for the heck of it isn't always worth it. Sometimes it's good to actually buy items which you can sell in the future. So investments are good, basically. Unless if you get like the crew of the scavenger coming and stealing all your shit. Well, that's
one of the things that I'm really sad about is I had these really nice reproductions from Alpha Officium, I believe they're called. You can find look for James Kaufman on Facebook. Look for Alpha Officium. He does like little auctions where he does really high-end reproductions that look like the gold coins, look like gold coins, but they're not actually gold. They have weight to them. They sound good. Like, and I'm really hoping to get more of those because there's something that I definitely miss. I should have sewn them into my clothes.
Yeah, can you swim in them like Scrooge McDuck? I wonder if a pirate ever did that. Like it was just like, you know, like also in Breaking Bad, you know, there's like lie down on the money. If someone ever thought that, like, yeah, just let's just lie down on these gold coins. They probably did it on like silk bales or something like that. But like gold coins, that would hurt. You would get a
when I was in high school and I got my first real paycheck, I remember I was like, I'm like, oh, this is a bad idea.
Yeah, you're standing right next to the pool. It's like, oops, better get a tongs. Better dive in there. Well, now you get some buried treasure, boy. There was something I was thinking of, just in my mind. Well, while I'm thinking of that, Cal asked, who was the dumbest pirate that somehow made it rich? Is there a pirate like that either of you can think of? Actually, I usually only remember like the pirates I'm working on at the moment, because I mean I basically forget as much history as you learn in a year. I forget in like a day. But at the top of my mind, I can think of Richard Taylor and Olivier Levasseur, especially Taylor. Those guys were such goofballs. Like there's like documentation of them, like, you know, they sail across the Indian Ocean without basically any provisions because they just ate all of their provisions at Christmas, and then they are only like sugar to keep them sane, and there's like high on sugar and undisciplined, and then they're just lucky. They just find a Portuguese treasure ship which been dismasted, dumped all of her cannons overboard. The crew are on borderline mutinous, and they can take it basically without a fight. And it's the richest pirate. It's probably the richest heist in all of history, and they make a bank. Levasseur, if you watch the Levasseur video, it did not end up well for him. Taylor seemed to have gotten out of it a bit better, but you know, Taylor, there are some like eyewitnesses who really admire him. He seems to have been he seems to have done some things good, but some of the things they did were just so dumb that it's kind of, I would say, like him, sounds like what I make in a day. Yeah, that's what you get if you work in OnlyFans, Cal. We know what you're doing. We have seen your stuff.
Well, I'm happy to announce people are finding my Kara, by the way. I was like, oh, I got notification. Oh, I know that guy.
Someone else says something very, very interesting in the comments. Scavenger paid for everything they got. His wife had every right to sell the property, as no prenup equals property is jointly owned. And if you're responsible and get arrested, she can sell assets to live.
That's the problem, that they keep thinking that it was personal property. That was business property. That follows a whole different set of guidelines. Not sure which
have
that is.
The OnlyFans just side also. Yeah, but do you have like and I'm just asking it for like clarification, because I know this as well, of course, since I'm a private business owner, I run a YouTube channel. I suppose you have the documents which say like where you document, yeah, I buy these via my company.
Everything that was sold was a tax write-off. The only stuff that was personal was like my guitar, the table. Like, I'm one of those people, like, I will go without shoes if it means making sure my kids have shoes. So, not sure which. It's probably Donald. Hi, buddy. Sorry.
Also, like if Crewe of the Scavenger, or if like someone here in the chat, one of you guys who have like acquired items from Donald or bought stuff from him, if there's anyone here in the chat who's watching who does not like what Donald has to say, you can access my email on my channel. You can email me, and then I can invite you over to the next live stream, and maybe we'll have Donald as well, and we can have a discussion. And I'm not trying to be hostile. I want everyone to have a. And here's the thing: even if Donald had done everything he had been accused of, and I actually said this in the Discord. I don't know if you saw my public announcement, Donald.
Nah, I didn't yet.
I said something along the lines of, okay, it looks like Donald has gotten into some bad stuff, but it seems like he has personal issues, and hopefully, like when he gets out, we can help him. We can help him get into his business again, and we can give him a second chance. And I think everyone deserves a second chance, and everyone deserves to get their voice heard. So if there's anyone here who disagrees with Donald, you can contact me via email, and we can we'll give you a voice. We'll get if you're a prison guard, if you run the prison system, if you want to debate Donald, or if you want to get your voice heard, or if you're the biggest racist.
Honestly, a lot of the prison guards, like, they don't get paid enough, and they cut a lot of the positions. I mean, it's a for-profit prison, so the investors are making a lot of money. The guards, no. And that's why, like, there's a lot of trying how to phrase. When you're not paying guards a lot of money, they try to find ways to make money. And sometimes those ways to make money is cooperating with people in the prison. We'll put it that like, I'm going to say my time, I'd say probably about a good 25% of the guards, it was a paycheck for them. They'd come in, get paid, that's it. They just did their job. There's probably about another 25% who were like real people. Like, they would talk to you, hang out with you, and like, you can't trust them, but at the same time, talking to them, you can like make the day go by, because they would actually be fun people. It's people that you would actually be okay meeting on the outside. And then there's probably about 50% that literally they were probably there just to make people's lives miserable, because their life was miserable. But yeah, I need to add something with for the Crewe of the Scavenger. The thing with this, so Donald mentioned that one time I got drunk and had messaged him. I was getting really stressed out about my wife's mental health at the time. The thing that kind of, like, I'm glad that they're bringing this. I'm glad that, like, when they do their little spiel, like, we can't stand the Crewe of the Fantasy, blah, blah, and they claim that I like threatened them and stuff like that. They bring up that I had gotten drunk and messaged them. And the thing that's very interesting about it is they knew about my wife's mental health. So when they make these little comments like that, like, they've already admitted that they knew. And that's the part that's kind of, it's like I keep saying, guys, if you're gonna commit crimes, don't advertise it. Don't write it down.
Yeah. Private Potato asked, and this is a question for you, Danny. What piece of pirate media has the most accurate clothing for the era? I ask since you are a tailor and would probably have a good eye for details like that.
I'd say nearly all of them suck, but I actually found one with my daughter that from the era, it's not pirates, it's highwaymen, but it was surprisingly accurate. It's called Nell or something like that. It's on Disney. And her and I started watching it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the clothing, the shoes. What is going? People riding horses were wearing riding boots. Everybody else was wearing shoes. I very rarely, if ever, see that in media representing the time period. But that's definitely one to check out. Most of the other ones, like you'll see one person wearing a proper jacket in the background, but then everybody else is wearing like weird fantasy stuff. That's for some reason all of these 17th century shows hate hats. Still cannot understand that.
How about hairstyles? Do you find the hairstyles to be accurate?
Oh no. It's always the full-on mid 18th century wig, or it's curled and cut like the wig, and it's like, no, like in this era, they were still wearing their hair like straight down, or the only time you'd have it tied off is if you were working, if you had a profession where you needed to keep it from getting into things.
Yeah, like a live streamer. No, it's I can't sit like this all the time. Tech War has the most accurate costume, I would say. What a fine film. Yeah, you watched the entirety of the film, didn't you? The entire, what is it, like 2 hours or something? I think someone said something. Oh yeah. There was this question. Okay, so here's someone asked a political question, and I just want to clarify this. I'm not American. I know some about American politics. For me, politics are purely entertainment. I only engage in politics. Well, I only watch politics and stuff for entertainment. But even if I had political views, I would not make them public because I'm not a political YouTuber. So I'm gonna of course let that. I presume the question is for Danny since he's American, but I know there's a lot of people from like every political spectrum or all over the political spectrum on this channel. Don't shoot the messenger. As I said, I'm gonna let everyone have their voice. I personally don't care. So Danny, if you want to answer this question, did you watch the debate, and who are you voting for?
I'm actually Richard actually nailed what my vote is. I vote for bringing Teddy Roosevelt back from the dead and voting for him. I mean, both of the elderly gentlemen that we have pretending to actually be coherent probably should be in a home at this point. I don't think they should be running our country. I don't think rich people should be making decisions. People who've been rich their entire lives, I should say, should be making decisions for people that they have no experience like being with. We have a lot of issues in this country as far as wealth distribution, as far as how and it's not a left or right problem. I need to clarify on that one too. It's an everyone problem. But nobody is really making real strides to fix it. And I don't think either of the two wealthy elderly gentlemen, I don't think either of them are really going to do much. So, yeah, I vote for zombie Teddy Roosevelt 2024.
Okay, to raise a counterpoint, it's a fair argument, but I think you should get on the raft with Taft. Get on raft with Taft. My president eats apple pie. Cal says make them public. I mean, dude, I make pirate history videos on YouTube. I don't think anyone gives even half a shit about my personal, social, or political views. That is, I mean, people who like, I mean, it is. I'm gonna vent a bit, but it's like, I get accused of basically everything. There are people who like say like I'm an anti-Christian liberal. There are people who call me a Christian fundamentalist. There are people who call me racist. There are people who say I'm not racist enough. I get called. People say I make Russian propaganda. That I make anti-Russian propaganda. There are people, who call me a homosexual. There are people who call me a closet homosexual or a homophobe. All the average stuff. Liberal, conservative, Nazi. I think I've been called a communist as well, or that you're a Swede, so I imagine you're an IKEA supremacist. Yeah, IKEA is good. We just want to make accessible furniture. It's not accessible if you're below room temperature IQ, though. I guess we're a bit discriminatory in that regard. My political views, yeah, I'm a Jacobite. That's my political views. I support the Stuart monarchy. Lenomorph asked, question for the both of you. Were there any pirates in the Mediterranean during the golden age of piracy? If you mean like of course, like this becomes like this sort of question. It's like, what do you define as a pirate? If you just mean like you go on a ship and you steal from people using the ship, either from you use your ship to rob people on land, like you go to coastal settlements or you rob other ships, then yeah, of course there were pirates in the Mediterranean. If you mean like the pirates as in like Blackbeard and Bartholomew Roberts, Bartholomew Sharp, and Henry Morgan, and those guys that we like recognize as this very specific group of pirates with very unique culture, no, those guys would pretty much not go to the Mediterranean. They would be close to it. They could sort of sail outside of Spain and to like the sort of, they could visit the islands, but entering the Mediterranean was like there were of course some who had like interactions with the Mediterranean, who had visited the Mediterranean, but it wouldn't be as pirates. It would be as like navy men. For example, Henry Avery, according to one popular story, he served as he served aboard a navy ship in the Algerian Wars, which were wars against pirates. There were also quite a few, at least politicians and sailors, of course, who supported or became pirates, who were kidnapped by the Barbary corsairs, who were pirates or privateers in the Algerian coast. But entering the Mediterranean as a pirate is a pretty bad idea, because it's the whole like political, economic, and infrastructural dynamic is entirely different from the colonial world. So like the big advantage of like the pirates we're familiar with was that they had the ships, and they had all of these like bunch of islands or open sea and coast where they could hide, and like no one could find them. But if you're in the Mediterranean, then pretty much all of it is occupied by fortified settlements, and there are navies and there are galleys patrolling the coast. So it's hard to operate as a pirate in that region in the same regard.
Not to mention, by that point in time, Britain already controlled Gibraltar. So just the very entrance into the Mediterranean Sea, they'd be seen.
Yeah, of course. The very good point is like the gate to the Mediterranean itself is very narrow, and even like before then, when Spain did not like pirates very much, as we all probably know. Kotlike, I think. What's your general opinion on surströmming? So surströmming is the pickled herring. The thing is, like, it's very misunderstood by people. You're supposed to eat like a small amount of it with like potatoes or like sandwich. So it's like it would essentially be supposed to be like a spice or something as like flavoring. It's not supposed to be like the main part of the meal. Cal asked, I mean to ask you, Golden Gunpowder, have you seen that show Norseman? No, I have not seen it. I see I see a child.
Yeah. She's like, Daddy, there's a pirate.
What?
Oh my gosh, this.
It's like a
Okay.
comedy Viking show. Isn't it like a serious show? I don't know. Like I barely watch any like historical. I mean, I don't watch a lot of movies or series overall. It's like I think I watched like that show like Vikings when I was like 13 or 14 or something. I don't remember. I think this is a question for you, Danny. Do you think a historically accurate pirate is far enough from Hollywood pirates that the average person wouldn't recognize them?
Yeah. I mean, I think about like in my county, like my state, we have Gettysburg and stuff like that. Like there's been many times where I'll be dressed as a historically accurate pirate and people do not see pirate. They see Civil War reenactor.
It was a lot of the items are like very similar, especially a lot of the hats. Like in the 18th century, of course, you have like the very people always recognize the tricorn. Like the tricorn is the pirate hat. But if I remember correctly, you made like one tricorn last year, like a very early tricorn. But usually it's like the sort of slouch hats, which I mean, there were of course like slouch hats were super common in the 18th century, but it's like the more sort of 17th century-ish hats, like sort of wide brim or sort of narrow brim, would sort of that sort of style would become more common in like the 19th century again. I think like it would be actually like it would be very interesting to explore like tricorns in the 19th century when they really started fading out. Like if anyone had like tricorns in the Wild West, for example. Donna, I don't know if you ever read this book, Blood Meridian. There is someone made like artwork. It's like a western, and someone made artwork for it where they like depicted some of the characters with like tricorns, and they're like in Mexico, whatever. So it's like the desert, and you have like essentially cowboys, outlaws with tricorns. I thought that was a very interesting aesthetic. And I normally don't even like the tricorn. I think it's so overrated. But having cowboys with tricorns, that is awesome. We should make that a thing. Judge Holden would like to know your locations. Yeah, I do not. I mean, he's gonna find you. He's gonna find you. Danny, I asked you, of course, about your like bad experience, like your worst experience in prison, or like, but the opposite of that. What was like the best experience you had?
There was this one night I had real bad nightmares and stuff while I was in there.
Fuck, dude.
And I woke up one night. I'm just like, I'm coming out of this panic attack. Because we were night shift, we were allowed to actually keep blankets, like sheets over our bunks so we could actually sleep in the daytime. And so nobody could actually see that I was awake. And I woke up in the middle of this conversation between two of my cellies. And they were like, man, it sucks that he was in here, that Curly was in here. That was my prison nickname, Curly. They're like, it sucks that Curly's in here. But, I'm really happy that we got to meet him. He's so cool. And these guys, like both of them were convicted at this point. Actual criminals. People that they're like these two specifically, they were like the kind that stereotype you walk in, they beat you up looking kind of guys. Like full on. And there they are, like having this really heartfelt conversation about me. And it hit me in this weird way. Like it coming from them, honestly, oh my gosh, looking at this chat, looking at this A character, whoever that would be, with their BS, it's like
we'll take it later after this.
Looking at stuff like that, and then on the outside, and then here are these people that are actually with me, like I can't leave them. We're stuck together. actually saying like things like nice things. It was one of these moments of like, I don't deserve to be treated like shit. I don't deserve that anymore.
Right.
That's why, like, hey, get fucked. I have the receipts, bud. I have the receipts. You want the? I have them. I don't know what he's trying to. I will continue to make my accusations because I have I've been posting the screenshots. He needs to go to my channel and actually view them if he wants to talk. Then we can talk. We can talk after that if he wants. At this point, like, I can't. It would be legally more expensive for me to try to get the stuff back than to just let them have it. But given that they've made sure to try to destroy my reputation, I got the screenshots from one of our mutual fans, not going to say which one, reached out to them about stuff, and they just had this whole book. It was almost like a script all about me, and it's like most of it was complete nonsense. They got their information from people that either A, did not know me, B, had done bad things and I had called them out for it, or C, this one person who for some reason was obsessed with stealing my events. She runs a pirate business of her own, and in a completely different state.
Pirate business in what sense?
She's like literally like they do more of like, whereas I focus on history, they'll like do like county fairs and stuff. I question how much history, but we had a big falling out because we used to get along, but they started taking some of my events, and I'm like, guys, like, and stirring up drama within our group. I'm like, we can't do that. That's not cool. And they started telling us, like, ended up calling my wife and trying to say that we had an affair. I'm like, no, that did not happen. My son was around the whole time we were hanging out. He knows what happened. It's like, don't lie. My son's not dumb.
The A asked, yes, but is the business registered in her name too? Yes or no?
No. Because she had dropped out of it after she started her job. Because I used to have her do the human resources.
And I think, like, also just speaking from completely non-legally, like, let's say, like, if the items weren't bought under your company, or if the company was under her name, and the procedure would have been legal, I think, like, from like a moral standpoint, like from a possessive, just from like an ethical standpoint, these were your items. These were like items which you had an emotional investment in. These were items which meant a lot to you. So even if, like, I don't think that's it would have been right to like take those items from you, even if it would have been legal, because
and that's the part that I like. They don't seem to comprehend that. Like, they gave the prices that CJ just flat out stole. Like, there was no payment from him. He flat out stole. But some of these guys, like the Crewe the Scavenger, like some of the prices they were offering my wife, it's like they know she doesn't know how much stuff's worth. So they were like offering, like they were like lowballing the point, like I would be embarrassed if I offered somebody the kind of money they were offering. And it just like I keep having to remind them. I have the chat log. I saw multiple times where they were told it was most likely the wrong thing, and they continue to do it anyway. I'm sorry, don't steal from other reenactors. And I don't care if it's stealing or stealing. Don't do it. It's not cool. It's not nice. You're not a good person for doing it. I think they were trying the vigilante justice angle, and then when it turned out I didn't actually do it, I think that kind of fell in their face. So then they started just making up things at that point. It's like, no. People who actually know me know I'm not like that. I reenact mostly with, like, a large chunk of the people I reenact with are elderly. Some of them are ex-military. We've got kids with us. Like, if I was the POS that they want me to be, I wouldn't be with those people. I wouldn't have reenacting sites that I work, like historical sites, still wanting to work with me even after prison, if that was the way I was. So they need to stop getting their information from people who don't know me, and stop posting stuff about me. Stop telling people things that they do not know.
Ariel commented in the chat, to answer question legally, I did register the business under both of us, and I can access it. I'm not siding with one side, but because of investments, I did put my name. You may have forgotten.
Nope, she got... she, again, had been removed from the business by that point. I'm actually going to send her a text right now. I don't know why she is... But at that point in time, she had already been removed from the business since probably about 2021, I want to say.
Intense. Yeah, but as I said before, if like Crewe of the Scavenger or anyone here who felt like you have been unjustly represented, as I said, like you can contact me. You know, you can comment on this video. You can access my email. Of course, getting my email is a bit of an IQ check. I want to avoid spammers also, because I do already get a lot of spam. But yeah, hit me up and we will sort it out, and we'll make sure that your voice is heard, because I think everyone should have their voice heard. Moving on a bit on to some more fun questions. Rich History Historian asked, have you seen the movie Admiral, the Dutch film? Yeah, I know you speak very good, you understand very good Dutch, Danny.
I've actually found it. I have not watched it yet. That is definitely one I want to watch.
Do you want to take another fun question, or do you want to answer the question from A?
Oh no! What's he ask?
Well, it's a statement. If not removed from the legal paperwork, she had the right to sell things off to support herself, and it's not theft.
I think these people hear what they want to hear, and that's what... No, it's fine, Kelly. So, I'm pretty sure that these people are starting to just hear what they want to hear, because, like I said, she was removed since 2021. She had no legal standing on that, and I understand that these guys like want to. If they actually cared about defending themselves, I had sent an email to them before I started doing my shorts saying, hey, look, can we talk about this? Like, work something out, some sort of agreement with this? And they chose to block me. So it's up to them. Like, I told them, like, look, if you don't help, if you don't like communicate with me about this, I'm going to go public about it. They didn't reply? Cool. I went public. Because like I said, having been in prison, you do not let somebody make you their bitch. Flat out. I will not be treated that way by anybody in this reenacting community. We're a bunch of nerds who dress up in historical costumes. That's it. We're not anything special. And if you act like a POS, you're going to be treated like a POS. And I don't like the drama in reenacting. It's too small of a hobby. I can understand if it was like some of the anime convention stuff where there's like thousands upon thousands of people. Reenacting's not that big. There's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for the bad behavior from some of these people. There's a person I'm really hoping reaches out to me eventually that apparently what I was accused of actually happened with the one of the people that I'm talking about. Till I confirm it, I'm not not going to say who or what, but I don't like when people soapbox on something, trying to be like, oh, we're good people, he's an awful person, and actually are doing the thing that supposedly I did. Sorry, that folks getting my blood pressure up a little bit.
No, it's good. It's good, and I think it's good that these people comment, so you know that we can get some. You can respond to it, and that it also makes the discussion more nuanced. Yeah, I think Cal put it pretty well. Pirate business rivalry and drama is wild to think about. Yeah, people will just find the weirdest things to have drama about. Private Potato asked as a question for you, Danny. What do you think of pirates appearing in medieval Renaissance fairs?
A lot of the ones who go are just fantasy pirates just doing their thing. Whatever. I know sometimes at our local Renaissance fair, reenactors will actually go, which I think is cool because it gets more public interaction. It gets people to see the way things really were. If ours wasn't so expensive, I'd probably do that.
There's someone here. King Edward the Turbulent said, well, pirates did used to fight each other and steal. That's the thing, actually. Pirates would pretty much never steal and fight each other. They're pretty much like never like fight each other. They are like, yeah, I mean, I think it's of course there might have been like 1 or 2 incidents, but usually it's between individuals, and it's like between different cruises. Like, I mean, it's not worth it if you're a pirate to attack other pirates. It's not worth it because like these guys, they're gonna fight, and they're probably not gonna have so much money anyway. And if you're a pirate, you want to make a lot of money by getting your stuff as little hurt as possible. So you want to make as much by losing as little as possible. So taking from merchants who can defend themselves, that's how you're a good pirate. But attacking other pirates who will fight for their treasure, and they're just as drunk as you are, pretty bad deal. So yeah, this is something not even pirates would do.
Criminals, like, one of the big things in prison, like, you do not steal from other people. Like, if you're caught stealing, you have to deal with that person, and you have to deal with the rest of the cell block. Like, it is not that, like, there is honor among thieves, we'll put it that way.
Caligula asked you, how much money would you say you make on a good day of doing reenactments?
Let's see, depending on the contract. So like some of the federal contracts, you could be getting paid like $25, but you could also be getting paid like almost $1,000. It all depends what you're doing, how many people are showing up, what site. One thing that I was working on before everything went down, there's a way to work with some of the smaller sites that can't pay you and actually get paid. It's through a grant process. So they want to let's say they want to bring you in to talk about something like, especially in my state, I've mentioned before, like 17th century history is very neglected. So like if I had gone to like some of the smaller sites near Philly and talked about 17th century history, if they couldn't afford to pay me, that would actually be a good thing, because then I could work with them to get a federal grant to pay me. And that's, I mean, depending on what you're doing, again, it's anything from like $25 to like $1,000.
Goofy.
And then there's Rich. Actually, there's Rich down here he's the one with the cannon. So he doesn't make money; he loses money.
But it's fun. It's fun. Goofy Gooba asked, "What was Danny in for?" So do you want to give like a summary, like within try within a minute?
I was accused of attacking my wife with a sword. Turned out that she had already been attacked by a sword years before, and it wasn't me who did it. But she got therapy, found out I did not attack her with the sword. But the state of Pennsylvania refuses to believe that I didn't. That makes sense? Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and while you were in prison, a bunch of people took items which belonged to you.
Yep.
And now Danny he has lost all of his work items because he works as a tailor making reenactment clothing and items, and now he's trying to get back on his feet again. He was in for plundering a Spanish treasure fleet. So King Edward says Rory the Turbulent and Grace O'Malley is one example of pirates fighting each other and probably stealing from each other, as if I remember the Burke clan from Ireland was led by O'Malley. Okay, so two things. One is like there's like one of these, as we talked about before, like cultural pirates. Usually when we talk about this channel, when we talk about pirates, we mean like the specific like Blackbeard and these pirates in like the Americas, these colonial pirates who have like this very distinct culture and way they behaved from other groups of pirates in history. They don't really have like a name, so we can distinguish them from other groups of pirates in history. There are names which they were called, which people don't really recognize. So they would, for example, be called Buccaneers. They would be called Marooners. That was like Blackbeard's his group of pirates were called Marooners, but a lot of people don't know about it. But if those names were well known, we'd call them that, so we could like distinguish them from other people who were also pirates technically, as in they stole stuff at sea. And also the ones you mentioned, I think those were like territorially bound. These are like essentially territorially bound clan disputes. So you essentially have like small organized states fighting against other small organized states, which means, yeah, you're going to have, and also there were like privateers fighting other privateers, but then it's basically employees of the state mercenaries fighting mercenaries from other states. It's not really the same as like criminal groups fighting each other.
There's one incident, I can't remember which pirates they are. I'm going to be talking about it in my next pirate round video. One of the ships had left Madagascar full of pirates planning to go back to North America, and they end up getting caught by another group of pirates that just left Madagascar planning to stay. I can't remember which pirates they were, but they end up stealing their ship.
Yeah, it was I think Baldridge documented it, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't one. Yeah, Baldridge, he made a lot of those like dealings, and it of course there's always going to be, and there's always like some of these people in like the comment section of my videos are like, actually there is one instance where this did not happen. And it's like, dude, for number one, shut the fuck up. Also, I'm sorry for like, I know there's like some people who don't like profanity. I'm sorry for swearing, but it's like both me and Danny are old jarheads. when we get like knocked together, we're gonna swear a lot. It's like before I joined the military, I did not swear at all. It's like a thing I picked up there. So like when I'm in the company of others, I just thought, but it's true. And it's like you gotta sort of, when you're talking about history, you gotta make up general rules.
Yeah.
This is like the general rule, because otherwise you're gonna sit all day and talk about these like edge cases. It's like, yeah, but at one point this happened, but at one point this happened. But usually they are like really weird reasons for why that happened. Like for example, on one of my videos when I talked about Olivier Levasseur and the Nossa Senhora de Cabo / Gellerlant, someone said like, oh yeah, golden gunpowder, you said that pirates didn't use ships of the line, but here's them using a ship of the line. And it's like, it wasn't purposed as a ship of the line. It was, firstly, it's one case, it's one incident. Secondly, the ship basically got shipwrecked and destroyed before they even got to use her. They didn't use her in any engagement, and she was like kitted out to be a treasure ship, like a cargo ship, not kitted out as a ship of the line, which is built in a specific way to perform a specific purpose. So usually a lot of these actually people don't even, for a lot of the part, they don't even know what they're talking about. Monkster said the best examples of pirates fighting each other in the golden age I can think of is Madagascar basically becoming a free-for-all. Pirate princes carving out kingdoms would fight each other. And yeah, there's basically the same incident as the first one. It's not really pirate crews, it's not pirate companies. These are like individual pirates fighting each other. And of course, there would be in pirate companies, there would be like people who have disputes and who would settle it with duels and stuff. They would shoot each other with pistols. But here's also a thing: pirate duels would always be done on shore. They would never be done at ship. They would never be done at sea. Because what this means legally and symbolically is that you take the conflict away from the sea, away from the ship, away from the business, and you settle it separately, basically. It's like basically don't shit where you eat, you could call it, in a symbolic sense. And also the Madagascar pirate princess. These are like basically territorial disputes. And usually they were employed by local warlords, local Malagasy warlords. They were usually vassals or mercenaries of those. And at that point they are, I guess you can call them pirates, but yeah, pretty long rant. Goofy Goober made a comment directed to you, Danny. Sorry that you experienced that. That's terrible what they did to you. I hope it's all better now.
Yeah, definitely. Like, before A hopped on there, the thing is, I can't get it back. I'm not getting it back. I realize that. I want them to recognize that, yeah, they messed up. They did something wrong. There's nothing I can do at this point. I don't want people getting messed over by them. I know that especially with the Polish guy, there's some possibility that he might have done stuff to other people like this before. That's my thing, making people aware. If they want to reach out to me like, look, I am sorry we did this. We are not going to talk about you again. We're going to leave you alone. Cool. When I got sent the screenshots a couple weeks ago where they were like saying all these untrue things about me, it's like, no, I can't let that stand. That's not cool. Like, I did time. I'm not going to be treated like this anymore. Like, that was where I drew the line. Oh my gosh. I don't think A is listening, and
No,
I'm gonna have a great life. They can do, like, if I hope they enjoy my things. I hope they have a good time with them. I hope every single seam just rips one day.
Yeah, when you're bending over,
Yep.
the pantsuit just ripped. No, it's like,
And I hope they lose all their left shoes too.
Okay. I'm gonna say this because there are people who sort of like drop in and out of the chat and who miss context. So I'm gonna say this like this. What you have been in the chat before when Danny has responded to this. So and basically what he said there was that the ownership of the business was not hers at the point which that happened. That was Danny's response. That is already been handed over to him. So what you're saying has already been answered. If you're gonna say it again, that's just we're not gonna be able to respond to it each time. So it's just gonna confuse people who haven't heard it. So if you bring it up again, I'm gonna have to ban you. But of course, if you if you feel like you have been misrepresented or whatever, as I said, you can contact me with email, and we'll make sure you get your voice heard in the next live stream. Because I mean, Danny is my friend, but like still, I am in this. I am a neutral party, and as I said before, I think everyone should get the voice heard. Private Potato asked, "What did the native Madagascar people think of pirates?" They liked them a lot. They thought pirates were awesome. And here's like a thing with the Malagasy, which is interesting. For one thing, it has to be noted that Madagascar is huge. It is like twice the size of Great Britain, and it had a lot of different people living in there. So like discussing all of these people, so it would be like discussing France, England, Netherlands, like all of them. And there's a reason the Madagascar video is 1 hour. It could have been way longer, of course, if you would have gotten into details. So it has to be taken with a pinch of salt when you draw like a general rule of saying the overall behavior or their attitudes. And there are like two cases. One is it's sort of hard to differentiate if the Malagasy overall, if they made a distinction between pirates and different groups of mariners, or if they did recognize pirates as a unique group. And this is probably something which varied. And it could also be that in some cases, for example, there is this incident of I think it's Commodore Matthews, who was pirate hunting in the 1720s. He arrived on Madagascar and was greeted by the Malagasy on in the Bay of Antongil, I think, or it's near Saint Mary. He greeted them, and they basically did this like pirate ritual where they gave him a glass of seawater to drink as like a ritual, which is how they would drink pirates, not drink pirates, how they would greet pirates. And this incident has been interpreted as them basically not being able to differentiate between pirates and other group of mariners. And they think, yeah, these guys are the same, so we're going to greet them in the same manner, and we're going to act to them in the same manner. And how do you act towards pirates and all mariners? You give them food, you give them hospitality, and you give them women to engage with. And of course, in return, they get trade. And that was like what the Malagasy were interested in. They were interested in trade, and they were interested in receiving mercenaries to fight in the local conflicts. So to the Malagasy, to basically sum up your question, the native Madagascar people, they found pirates and slave traders because there wasn't really a difference between pirates and slave traders and smugglers. It was basically all the same thing, and it was the same thing to the Malagasy. These were people who could help the Malagasy develop their society and who they could utilize. But of course, this was a relationship which developed over time, sort of in the mid to late 17th century. Early on, the Malagasy were very skeptical towards European sailors and visitors, and often behaved hostile towards them. Usually because Europeans had early on behaved very hostile towards them, especially the Dutch and Portuguese were very hostile towards the Malagasy. The reason why the Portuguese had behaved so hostile towards the Malagasy initially was because the Malagasy had been trading with the Arabs, with the Muslims, who were not only were they a religious enemy of the Portuguese, but they were also a trade enemy, a commercial enemy. A very long answer. I think like if you watch the video, the Madagascar video, I think all of your questions would be answered. Cal said, "I want to debate you, Golden Gunpowder. Not about this situation, but how about I can fix Mary Reed?" My counter argument is just your meds. Take them. Seek help. Get help, dude. The question is why are you so interested in Mary Reed and not in Anne Bonny like everyone else? Pancakes asked, where did a pirate of the late 17th century / early 18th century get recruits other than impressing men? Were the people in the know like friends of Dorothy, or just go to a local area and recruit? I mean, basically, if you were in a society or a settlement where you were accepted legally, so either if they accepted pirates or if you were a privateer, then you could basically, for one, you could just go to a tavern and put out posters saying we are recruiting. You could also put it out in the newspaper if there was a newspaper saying we are recruiting. But of course, the best advertisement in this period for anything was word of mouth, just like today. Except word of mouth back then was way more literal. People would spread gossip, they would talk to each other, and news would spread quickly. Often before a ship made landfall, made anchor, before it arrived in the port, people would know that you were coming and that you were recruiting and that you would need stuff. Rumors spread quickly. So if you were recruiting, people would probably know about it and they would seek you out and try to join. That's basically how recruitment worked. You just advertised and then positioned yourself in like a tavern, and people would come up to you and sign the names or sign their sign or whatever. That's how you did it, or you impressed people, or you forced them. Those are like the two main recruitment methods. Danny, do you have anything interesting to add on that point?
Nah. Like, I know in my area, like in Pennsylvania, New York, a lot of them simply would just they could like with the case of like Kid and Two and all them, they were openly recruiting people.
Yeah, and also a lot of people were in these small communities. They were just, people were friends, neighbors, relatives. I talked about, and this is going to appear in the Kevin Duffus interview, which is coming out next week. Actually, bit of a spoilers, bit of a teaser. It's a very interesting interview, and he talks about this about pretty much all of Blackbeard's crew. He was able to trace that they were pretty much all of them from the Carolinas. So these were people who they were from interconnected families, and it's the same with the Red Sea men, and the smugglers and slave traders. There were so often people who were neighbors, who were related, and oftentimes they end up like almost on the other sides of a gun barrel. Like when Captain Kidd met Culliford, the crews didn't fight. A bunch of people ended up joining Culliford instead of Kidd because they were both from New York. They were neighbors. They didn't want to fight each other. And of course, what exactly happened there has been debated upon if Kidd and Culliford were conspiring together, or if Kidd was he wanted to fight, but his crew declined. That has been debated upon, but the fact is, a lot of these people came from the same communities, and and even just when people were from the same nationality, they didn't want to fight each other. But yeah, basically, you just recruited normally, or you've impressed people, like you said, Pancakes. Cal said, Mary reading Black Flag is so hot. That's how I imagine her. You like her because you liked her when she was dressed as a man and you thought she was a man. That's when you liked her. Ariel asked, for Golden, have you seen the Pirate Shoe on Disney? I presume you mean by Golden, you mean me. I don't think I've seen it. I don't watch a lot of Disney, and I don't watch a lot of movies. Golden Gunpowder is just jealous. Yeah, I'm a real jelly bean. I'm a real jelly bean. Yeah, let's see if we doesn't look like there's too many questions at the moment. So what is it? You've also been working way more on your artwork. You're like and drawings and stuff. So what is like do you have like any goals there or anything?
My big thing overall is I don't want to get just like I don't want to get stuck in one thing. Like that was one of the reasons I got out of doing like modern reenacting stuff, because you'll get like a uniform order for a group and it's like a whole bunch of the same thing over, and I don't like doing that. So I want to do the art as part of like bring the art back into my business, which I originally wanted to do, but COVID happened and the lockdowns, nobody was really buying art at that time.
Caligula wants to see. Also, Frogman, we're getting to a comment after Cal, since this one is related. Cal wants to see some of your art, if you can like hold it before the camera.
Oh, Kelly, hear that one? There's one right behind me. There's a pretty landscape I did.
That's pretty good.
From, I forget what book it is. Not a book I've read, a book my wife read.
There's one here.
Okay. Trying to see. Yeah, there we go. There's two over there. Good. Yeah, bring it to me, Kelly.
That's what you got kids for.
Oh, here we go. This is my really dark one.
I hate to talk.
Oh, it's nice that you depicted me in it. That's very nice of you.
I'm never going to sleep again because of that.
Are you the one in the straitjacket?
I'm the one with the horns. That's how I look in the mirror, at least. Or there's someone who looks like, or there's always someone like behind me who looks like that. I haven't figured out who he is yet. He always wants to make like a deal with me, but I don't really have much to offer. Yeah, thanks for sharing your art. Frogman Smith asked, Danny, when you start buying new stuff, what type of sword will you get first?
One the cops don't take. I'm not sure yet because there's a few suppliers that have gotten back into it that are making the type I like, but then there's also a whole bunch of like a lot of custom makers. I don't know. I'm debating. I think I might actually save up and get something really nice from one of the smaller makers.
Also, they took your guns, right? Your flintlocks.
Yep.
Also, where did you? What was the like? Where did you buy them from again? What they called it? Like I can't remember the name.
Veteran Arms.
Yeah, Veteran Arms. Yeah, yeah. They make a bunch of cool stuff. Like they also make like handguns, like a bunch. They have so much cool stuff. I checked them out a few days ago. Now, do you have like a favorite sword which you would like to acquire?
My daughter just keeps hitting my phone, I realize.
I asked you if you have like a favorite sword, like a specific one you would really like.
Nah, I want to build something that's kind of based on the written descriptions, but also like surviving artifacts. Because like a lot of the swords that are popular available, like I've said before, I feel like they're too clean. They're not. It doesn't look like something somebody made in the period.
Yeah.
And it just like there's talk of like the town blacksmith, not a bladesmith, a blacksmith making a sword. I want something like that. I want something that frankly nobody will want to steal.
Yeah, nothing clad in jewels and gold.
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah.
Kelly said, "Who confiscates flintlocks?" I mean, they are worth a lot. Like the replicas, like you can buy one. I think it's like for $400 for like one pistol.
I mean, if you'd
Or
ask
500.
CJ, they were. You could get a Pertisoli for $250 if you ask CJ.
Good to know. I wonder we acquired those. Makes you think.
That's the thing. It goes back to the numbers too. Like, even if things were done good and proper prices were paid, probably walk away, no problem. Nope. Ah.
A bit amogus. 850 the musket. Yeah, that's such a shame. Like such a big investment that you made. Really sucks.
I want to look into getting like a Buchan gun eventually.
Oh yeah.
But like Track of the Wolf and I forget who else. Apparently, there's like a really long wait time on some of the parts, which that's why a lot of people end up going like. There's this elitism in reenacting, like avoid the India-made things. Problem is, you're not going to have a unit because people are going to be waiting for years to even be kitted out. It's okay to start with that stuff.
I think also one thing which would be quite interesting. I don't know how possible it would be, but a bunch of like the Buccaneer guns, they were actually assembled from old firearms. So a lot of the I saw like one a few days ago, which was assembled from it had an old matchlock barrel, so like from one of these heavier matchlocks, and then it had like I think they had a new stock on it and they added a new lock. And that was like really common, like if you could reuse, and I think that's something since you want something that looks like used and rugged in a sense.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, like having these try to get like stuff which is like assembled from multiple parts. And that was like a really common thing, like in old firearms history, especially like reusing parts, especially barrels. Like if you even like when they started converting a bunch of the Springfield muskets into the breech loaders in the 1870s, they just reused like the musket barrels and then they cut out the back part and added like the lift breech loader mechanic. And you could of course do that with muskets, just add it onto a new stock, add a flintlock instead of a matchlock, whatever.
We still do that today with like when I was in, we had the standard M4, and then there's like you could see on where different parts were scratched off over the years as they changed what the they'd taken the parts off of older guns, and it was it's very interesting.
Actively random says that he likes your hairstyle.
I used to shave the sides all the time, but then I started doing the history stuff, so I stopped. But since I can't at the moment, I decided to do it.
Caligula said, honestly, that is a better investment than a sword. Yeah, I actually think like guns are. I mean, they are. I think a gun, like in the period, like is gonna get you much farther than a sword. Purely also because of the fact that you can use a firearm in melee. Usually they talk about clubbing the musket, but even just like hitting someone, like using the gun essentially as a spear, even without a bayonet. Like if you just like jab with the muscle, like that is gonna hurt. Especially if you like hit someone in like the head or the forehead, you're gonna knock him out if you hit him good. And of course, a lot of tactics, ship tactics, you fight collectively. You do not fight like one-on-one, and then it's more useful to have a firearm, not a melee weapon. So I think actually like a lot of reenactors and stuff, they should probably focus on like having a good firearm, because I personally prefer guns over swords. I like knives though. And that'd be cool. Also, like if someone would do like a plug bayonet, like, and you could just do something like you carve the handle of a knife, and then you got a plug bayonet.
Yeah. I saw somebody do a build with like one of the cheap blades from Amazon and like some random hardware from the hardware store. It actually looks like a better plug bayonet than some of the reproductions out there.
Actively Random said, I was thinking of buying a Queen Anne pistol, but the ones I could find, you couldn't screw the barrel off. And to my knowledge, I think you reload a pistol by screwing it off, right? I mean, the screwing, it wasn't... I mean, yeah, you can reload it by screwing it off, but the thing also with... I mean, the screwing was also there to make it easier to clean. You can reload it like the conventional method, like just ram stuff down, like there's nothing preventing you. But the thing with pistols is like pistols aren't really, in this period, they're not really meant to be reloaded in combat. You're meant to like go, I mean, they're essentially they are essentially a melee weapon, like a close quarters weapon. Like you're supposed to fire them like before going into melee. Like you go in there with your sword and your pistol drawn, and you fire your pistol or you fire a second pistol, and then you go into melee. You might even like flip the pistol around and use it like a club, And in late 18th century, in the American Navy, they would also like throw the pistols. So like reload time and like how you reloaded the pistol wasn't really... You could reload it whatever, like you could reload it by unscrewing it, or you could not do it. But the most convenient thing with the Queen Anne pistol, unscrewing the barrel like that, was really, I think, maintenance. Like cleaning it makes it much easier. I don't know if you have something there to add, because you also possess the Queen Anne pistol.
Yeah. One thing I found in the time period there, the Queen Anne as a style, you could see it. There was a lot of copies of it. Some of them didn't even have the screw off like the screw off ability. So, like the one that the Indian made one is apparently too big, from what I've heard. It looks good on film because you can see it in the actor's hand better than better than a pair of Soli one. So like Black Sails, I think, was using Queen Anne's. I think that's where I've seen them. Might be wrong, but those are the Indian made ones. The Pertisoli is like the right size. Again, that doesn't have it can't be screwed off. There is a maker apparently in England who does do like really high end custom Queen Anne's that you can unscrew.
Yeah, no, the biggest advantage of the Queen, or what people like the Queen Anne pistols about, was that they were compact, they were small, and partly because they didn't have the wooden stock, and that additionally reduced weight and it reduced size, so you could like keep it in a pocket, and eventually they would develop into these like pocket pistols, which you could keep it in your coat sleeve. There's this you know, Donald McBain, the Scottish swordsman. He was like gambling with a Frenchman, and the Frenchman lost and got angry, and he pulled one of those small pistols out of the like fold, the cock in his hat. So yeah, that's what like the ton of pistols, they were supposed to be small. Caligula asked, "What is your favorite sword, Golden Gunpowder? Besides the scimitar, I like the Italian Cinquedia." Favorite sword, or like favorite pirate sword is definitely the cutlass, because I like a lot of the customizations. You can like there's so much you can do with a cutlass. Like you can add the scalloped hilt, you can add the thumb ring, you can wrap the handle in like shagreen, like shark hide, or you can have it ribbed and you can have a different pommel. You can do a bunch of stuff. Like they did a bunch of stuff with the blades, like having the different blades. A lot of customization there. Favorite sword overall from all of history, I really like the falx, which the Dacians used, which is like this forward curving sword. And that sword was brutal, and like the Romans had to completely change the armor. Like they had to make a new helmet to be able to defend against the blows from the falx, which were like cloven overhead like this, and it's kind of like a hook. And I think also Julius Caesar also used the sort of falx at sea, a very long falx, like a pole, and it's mounted on the end for cutting rigging on enemy ships to disable them. You Dacians, yeah, Cope. I love the Dacians. I'm not of a Roma boo. I'm a barbarian boo. That's why I have long hair like the Merovingian, Chads. Pancake said Barbary Corsairs were thinking their lives after getting hit by a thrown 5-pound pistol. Yeah, pretty much. Getting the pommel in your forehead. Not nice. Not nice. Also, pictures, you probably know this as well, like Crewe fans say, like the whole machete versus cutlass thing, but like pictures of actual, like, and findings of actual machetes from like the 17th century are so rare. Like sugar cane and machetes and stuff like that compared to cutlasses. You wish you were pure Mediterranean stock like I am. Yeah, don't worry, I'll just eat enough olives and we'll sort it out. I'll be there. 2008 David Kang said, the Yatagan sword also featured a forwards curve and is contemporary with the pirate time period in your videos. That's very interesting. Where is it from? Yatagan. I might actually Google it. Also, Danny just up and disappeared.
Boop. I'm here.
Oh, hello. Nice to see you. Yatagan.
I had a child that needed a brownie.
Oh, a brownie. I thought you were going to say a spanking. Ottoman. Oh, right. Yeah, looking at it now, it looks kind of cool. Though, Fox is still my favorite. Like, Fox is like a deep curve. I don't know, kind of like the Fox is kind of. It's almost like a sort of. It's kind of like those katana nerds. I'm a Falx nerd. I like the Falx, and also it's a two-handed sword. It's pretty cool. King Edward asked, did pirates ever have odd traditions like having a jar of dirt or collecting things from the beaches when not committing piracy? Danny, correct me if I'm wrong or if you have anything to add, but I think like it was very common to just collect seashells and stuff.
Yeah. Like, honestly, a lot of it's just a human being thing. We are still simple animals where it's like, ooh, shiny thing.
Yeah. SHTF. I think that is shit hits the fan. Maybe. Where's Golden Gunpowder from? I'm from Sweden. Pancake says real chads use sticks, not even point. Just pick it up and start bonking. Yeah, the stick is like very underrated in clubs. Like they are useful, but they're also very dependent on you having like upper body strength. So you need to be literally a real chad to use it. Grug for tribal leader. But yeah, like clubs are very useful. You could like use your musket as a club, and that's a really good weapon. But also, like if you have armor and if you wear like full plate armor and you just meet a big ass shad with a wooden club, a hard club, you're probably gonna be screwed. Like that kinetic energy is just gonna break your bones, cause some internal bleeding. Have fun, boy. Oh, but it kind of looks like the stream is sort of winding down. There's not a whole lot of questions, so
Yeah.
so might as well. We
The kid
could
with a
sort of wind
bucket.
down.
We got Captain Kid with a bucket though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, the bucket. Very true. Very true. Yeah, there's so many kids of like these weird improvised weapons, and I have the video about it. I think my favorite one, yeah, the one captain with the bag of biscuits. Yeah, that one is crazy. That one is crazy. I'm looking at my notes also for if I had anything more that I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, could you find like the links to your like novel also, like Amazon links, and
Yeah,
I'll post that, and
Yep.
we'll send it. I might actually give it a read because I've kind of been on a reading spree, and I've sort of read like I've read some like dystopian stuff. Mary Reed says goodbye. I haven't taken my meds today. Very wholesome. Very wholesome.
There we go.
But yeah, we'll be winding down the stream then. So like we'll stay around for like 5 more minutes if someone has any more questions, and we'll 2008 David Kang. Was there ever examples of spreading caltrops on decks as a melee tactic in the geography of interest in this period? I read that it happened in Asia during the 16th century. I don't know if caltrops specifically. I think it might actually have happened, but they would definitely like spread similar stuff on the decks, like planks with nails in them, peas, like dried peas, hard that you could step on, glass, stuff which you could get hurt on the decks, like similar to caltrops. And I wanna like, don't quote me on it, but I think I have seen some examples of similar things as caltrops, but way smaller being used. I don't know, Danny, you might remember it more clearly than I do.
I know there's stuff that's been found in the archaeology.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure caltrops have been found, like in the context of our area. Like, yeah.
I got a vague memory of it as well. Jackal like an official said, just waking up. Is the VOD gonna be uploaded? Or I've seen like people always refer to this VOD on streams. I honestly I have no idea what it means. VOD, like I was saying, because I'm not a streamer. Just kind of recently started streaming. But it's gonna be like the whole stream is gonna be like it's gonna appear on the channel, so like you can watch it in like the full thing. But there's not gonna be like an edited version because I have so much to do. I do not have time to go and edit these streams. If I am recording of the stream, basically, yeah, it's gonna be there. Like you can watch the whole stream in after we ended it. It's gonna be on the tube, on the tube. Actively Random asked, Crewe, I might be mistaken, but did I see you are making a pirate comic?
Yep, that is true. I'm debating on how. I'm working on one of the plot points a bit more before I start doing more of the. I already started doing the drawing, but then I got up to this one plot point. I'm not sure I like it, so I'm switching it around. It's one of the joys of writing. But yeah, I'm writing a cyberpunk pirate story.
Interesting.
It's gonna be more. It's probably gonna be more accurate than a lot of other pirate stuff. But decided to go with cyberpunk.
Not surprised. Did you send me did you email me the novel link or whatever?
Yes.
Okay, let me refresh, because I'll paste it in the video description. Also, I was like, I did not bother like coming up with a good email name for my email correspondence with Crewe of the Fancy, so I just named it the shit thread. Because sometimes I can't be bothered like using my brain. I don't want to think, so I just like revert to slurs and curse words. Okay, I'll put it here like by Danny's novel. VOD, yeah, the VOD is gonna be there. Pancake said, okay, I'm gonna voice act this. Yar, I be rocking the neon cock ring, yar. Cyberpunk pirates. Insane. Absolutely insane.
Oh, thank all of you who've like donated to GoFundMe in this time, I just realized. That helps so
Oh,
much.
have people donated?
Yeah,
on these?
yeah.
Awesome. 2008 David Kang. If you were to make a pirate video game, what would it be like? Actually, at some point, I was actually making like it was going to be a companion video to the Assassin's Creed one, where I was going to talk about like ideas that people could use for something like that. I stopped making it because I thought it was so boring to such a boring video to do. I don't know. They are like it's a very like big topic to talk about, but I think Sid Meier's Pirates is probably like the game which has come closest, I think, to like having good systems. Pirates of the Cyberpunk. All right. Well, it doesn't look like there are any more questions, so I think that's gonna be it for the stream.
All right.
So yeah, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed. Got to hear Danny's story, and if you missed any bit of it, you can watch the VOD and go back and see what get a full story from Danny. It's right at the beginning of the stream. I'm probably gonna do another stream like sometime next month in like the mid. I might do one or two streams in July. I probably do one alone, and then I'll probably have some other guest. I'm probably gonna do something like that. I have one single interview and one with a guest every month. There's also going to be another one of the book reviews on Tuesday, and there's going to be a podcast episode on Saturday, because I'm doing those again. The Piratical podcast is going to be back, and it's going to be about 2 hours long or something. I talked about earlier what it's going to be about, who's going to be in it, but you're going to have to go back into VOD to check it out. So yeah, thank you everyone for attending, and don't forget to check out Danny's novel and his GoFundMe in the stream description, and support him if you can.
Thank you all.
And yeah, Danny, since we're gonna disappear now that I close the stream, there's no like after talk for us, so thank you for coming and everything, and it was great to hear your story. You know, it's and we're all glad to have you back on your feet.
Except the Crew of the Scavenger, apparently. They just love me.
Yeah, they big fans, I hear. They like you so much that they had to keep your stuff. Memorabilias.
They keep saying this stuff publicly, and it's like, guys, I have the receipts. Like, it's not like you can't just be like, no, it didn't happen, and you can't make up shit about me, because I have it. I have the info. You guys are just making stuff up. Take care. Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day, Danny. And
You too.
goodbye to the rest of you. I'll see you guys later.
See ya.